this is a miniature of what happens in the real world, like bigger companies and stuff like that, right? It's like, okay,
it's that
we're not meeting
bullshit.
deadlines, so just lie to them straight up. Just fucking make up something.
That's how bullshit starts and multiplies. If you're born as a beautiful woman, people are not gonna leave you alone, dude.
It's a kind of hell,
You're never gonna be left alone.
It's a kind of hell. Even though, yeah, you can gain some benefit from that, but it's still, it's sort of like you got no choice in that, right?
That's the secret. That's how you do it. You don't learn all this bullshit that makes you think, oh,
do
there's a
the Tao
problem.
without knowing the Tao.
Yeah,
right?
That's the best way to do it. That's the natural, full flow.
Is
natural.
that a curse?
It's always like, this is gonna be better, so I'm gonna strive and make my best to do this and be that. And then you never get there. You never get to the point where like, yep, I'm done. This is it. Full peace, nirvana forever. That's not, first of all, not how you start learning it. You don't come up to the freaking one of the tallest mountains in Canada and go.
And just go. That was the plan. That was the plan. Like, how hard could it be?
We rented the gear. Like, all right, let's go. Yeah,
let's go, man. I mean, that's the curse of knowledge, I guess, because you can't do it without it. But the more you know, the less you know, really, because it just raises more questions, right? Because like we had kind of touched upon before, like ignorance is bliss, because the less you know, you don't even know what's out there, right? So you don't think about it. So you have no conception about it, and therefore it's not something that worries you or
it's not something that you have to deal with it at all, right?
But the more ideas you get in your head, you're like, well, is this the right way then? This guy is saying this, that guy is saying that, and you gotta do comparative analysis, like, okay, so does this make sense? I mean, this is the basic aspect of how you get more accurate information, is just compare all kinds of information together and then see, what are the relevant kind of cross-reference and stuff like that. So that's how you get accuracy of information. But it's pain in the ass, right? It's work. And it's kind of like, I mean, this is also partly why they would use this they weaponize it in this way, right? Like with all the fake news, misinformation, all that stuff. It's just like, well, because the cost of ascertaining truthful information is costly, right? You got to sift through all this stuff just to figure out what's real. So most people don't do it. That's why it's easier
in the spiritual domain, right? In anything that is like up for interpretation. But yeah, more so with like any news and stuff. The stuff that is more or less neutral that I find is anything that's at least pretends to be science-based, because I think I sent you that video the other week or something about the guy was explaining the epigenetics. Did you watch that one? He was explaining how a baby, a fetus responds to mother's emotions in the womb.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was the best informational type of content that I've seen in a long time, because it was so perfectly, clearly explained. It was based on real science and actual research. It was like borderline mystical in a sense that what it says about reality, the fact that we, as fetuses, we start picking up signals from environment, which is at that point is our mother's womb, but it has signals. So if our mother is experiencing stress, we will learn that there is something to be stressed about out there in the world from the fetus age, which is crazy, but that's the truth. That's the reality. You start forming yourself because you really are a reflection of environment that in your mother's womb. You start being shaped by the environment, which is your mother is reacting to. That was awesome. Like when it explains you all the way from there to how you are becoming a person and what you're dealing with as a conscious adult later, like that is informative, it's truthful, and it's useful because you can now kind of expand your understanding of just what a person is and how you get shaped up, and the fact that it's not exactly all under your control. You don't get to blame yourself for everything. That's kind of the positive side, I think, from it. And that. But everything like everything else, which is just a lot of these, like I was bought by the fact that a lot of these traditions and ideas are thousands of years old. So there is something to be said about the fact that ideas survive, and they're, they survive through culture and traditions being passed down. There's got to be a reason for that, like because people preserve stuff that is valuable to them, right? So I was intrigued by that. I was like, well, there got to be something there. So that's why I studied that stuff. But by God, it's fucking confusing.
Well, it is
It's so
because
confusing.
there's so many things out there, but I think if you think about it though, it is scary in the fact that you also want to be learned. You want to learn as much as you can because the thing is, not having knowledge and being ignorant is actually very scary state, right? Imagine if you never was educated, right? You don't know how to read, you don't know how to like your understanding of the world is just so much less, right? And we are limited by our faculties. You know, there's a limit to your how would you say understanding, right? And there are different levels. And the more knowledge you do gain, it does help you to kind of make sense of what's happening around, right? Because yeah, like that's how science, got to the point that that's how science developed. I mean, the fact that we know so much about the world itself, right? And continue to explore is because we have the faculty, the mind to delve into these things and study them and then, formulate all these hypotheses and prove it. And then, you find out. So this is a concrete building block to like it's the same extension of like all these ancient knowledge, right? The idea that people preserve these ideas because they're important. They feel like this is necessary for people to survive and we get passed down and we learn all these stuff. Otherwise, dude, it's like it's zero. Every time a person is born, you start with nothing. I mean, something got to come from something. So, you know,
Yeah, the way of life wouldn't change as well, right? So people would be locked, and I'm sure there's been eras where that's been the case. A lot of eras before the technology, before the Industrial Revolution, lasted for centuries, where there's just the same way of life because there's technology is the
right?
same, environment is the same, culture is the same, not much changes. Yeah, that would be interesting to live in that
Because
stable world, but like these days I can't imagine it because used to change and we're just used to everything being propelled forward and being new and stuff. So
yeah, but that's the other quandary, right? Because other ways, modern life is kind of the almost the antithesis. It's the opposite of what you want, how you want to live. Actually, the modern day life is way too. The fact that we have all these more people are not just unhappy, but actually have more symptoms of mental illnesses and all the other sickness that just start happening. That's just part of the symptom of the disease, which is just the way that we manage our lives these days in the modern day is very unhealthy to the psyche, to the body, to everything, because we have divided up everything into these specific sets of knowledge and understanding where we're fractured, right? Like a person has to be like, you go to school, you learn a specific craft, a specific thing, and that's your thing. And you're supposed to just continue to drill down on that. But things change, right? So we are unable to adjust ourselves quickly enough when change comes because you spend so much time learning about a specific set of you have a specific set of skills, right? But that just means all the other time you didn't spend doing all the other stuff, and so you are only known for this thing. And so we are compartmentalized society in such a way that it is literally we are gears in the machine, right? We're just that little part in this whole system, and you just plug yourself in that. And in a way, that's kind of an inhumane way to conceptualize life, right? Because that's why the modern structure that we have with all these the power structure that we have right under the guise of the market forces and all that, you build all these corporations and things like that. They're a structure that is by design extractive, like I don't know if that's a word, they're just exploitative, let's just say. They extract your value they basically leverage the value you provide as an employee to maximize the profit that the corporation will earn.
Mm-hmm.
So you lose as an employee. You spend all that time, you trade that time for a job, for a security of a job security, but they're giving you peanuts, chump change, but they massively leverage that to build something that can get them 100%, return, right? This is what all these tech companies are
Yeah.
doing.
So they pay you the least amount of possible. But again, like what determines that? Like, how do you?
It's
Is it
just
just personal negotiation? Like, how do you, what's the ceiling, right? Because right now there are positions and I'm sure they're lower than they were a couple of years before, in terms of what money they offer. And I know you yourself can request for any type of, money, but when a position offers you a certain amount of money and it's just that range, what determines that,
it's
is the
I
company's
just
business model and everything else, but like, how are you gonna get more than that?
it's like I was just watching this video of some guy was just doing homesteading. So he decided to quit the city life and just went to some rural area, bought the lands and just start, like live life off the land. And then he was just kind of relating his experience, right? When he used to live in the city, it's just like way more stress, right? All stressed out all the time. And he just concluded that, yeah, that's the structure. That's the game that you play, right? If you decide to play into that city life, which is, you yourself getting employed in the city, doing something, it just, that structure guarantees misery. It's just guaranteed you don't feel fulfilled because you're not doing something that's meaningful in the sense of your own kind of self-driven kind of you're not doing it for your own pursuit. It's more like, oh, this is a job. You have all kind of um, rationales to explain why you're in that job, why you're doing this thing. But the system is designed to just make you miserable because you are just a tool. You're being extracted for value, right? So over time, you get fed up. That's why the city life is such a, I don't know, chaotic and also just stress inducing because of all these things that kind of congregate into that, and people explain it away why they have to. I mean, one of the things the guy was saying, why it does resonate, is that the fact that no matter what situation you're in, it is still a choice. You might feel like you don't have a choice, and you can explain why you're doing the thing that you're constantly doing, even though you're not happy, you hate it or whatever. I mean, that's reasonable way to explain it, but a choice is still a choice. You still made the choice to be in that situation, right? You just think that the outcome will be different, but it was already determined. The moment that you sign the contract, you're getting to that kind of system, you already signed away your rights, basically, right? So that's why if you kind of sit back and start thinking about these things in a structural manner, you do start to see, oh, so that's how the game is played. Because there are many different on the surface explanation that people give you, right? About macroeconomics and this and that and all this stuff to kind of see, oh, why we need to, delve into this technology because you will bring blah, 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 blah. But at the underlying thing that they just want profit. That's what they're seeing. That's what they're seeking. But they use any kind of explanation to tell you, well, this is why we do it. It's like I was also watching the other video talking about the structure of power. And one of the things that they say about this is why do these structures exist, or at least what is doing, is the power that be retains the right to explain. Basically, it takes away your right to explain how you see the world, and they're imposing on you why you're wrong and why their way is the right way.
Okay,
That's how
yeah.
they enforce power. That's how they
That's a really
enforce.
good point. It's power of the constructing the narrative, controlling the narrative, right?
Yes.
That is the kind of ultimate power, essentially. And these days, I kind of think more and more about power. Like, I remember when one of the podcasts was stumbled upon that topic, and I kind of got fascinated by it because I realized like I haven't studied or paid attention much to it. But in reality, it kind of seems in human world, everything is about power.
Because
It's
that's
everything
the
is about it.
structure, which
Because if
is
you don't have power, you are not in control of anything. You are just
yeah.
being thrown around by forces outside of your control, right?
So now I see about this and I start seeing all these correlations in modern day. If you read the recent history of what happening within the world, nothing really fundamentally changed. And this in different countries, it's the same thing. So, for example, I saw some, they were talking about South Korea and how a lot of South Koreans still feel like their current modern society, with all the technology and all this stuff, is still living in the dynasty era where there are classes of people. There are the royals, there are the government officials, all that level, and then you have the everyday people, and it's the same thing that didn't change, right? So it's like, and everybody, and this is a very similar story in China as well, because everybody had to pass this exam in college. Before college, before you get into college, you got to pass this test. That determines basically your role in society. Like how good you are on this test score means your ability to go to good schools, to get into good company and stuff like that. So everybody's trying to do that. It's a hellscape. Like in
Yeah.
South Korea, it's like this hellscape of the rat race. Like it's like rat race on steroid, right? But it's the same way as it was back in when they had a kingdom. It's the same idea. All the people who were the elite, let's just say, back in the day, they control the avenue of how you can be rich, how you can move up society, right? And they gatekeep that. It's the same idea. And this is the same in current day Russia, current day China, US, anywhere. They have different way to explain why the structure is the way that they are, to frame it in a different way so you accept the reality that they construct for you. But it's always the same, which again is why I know this is kind of a broken record now, but this is why I felt in love with Doom, because that setting is like, well, yeah, the future is feudal because it has always been feudal. That's like the final evolution of it. It's like everybody just stop pretending. It's like, yeah, we're just living in a feudal society. Deal with it, right? So that's the ultimate structure of how power has been for thousands of years. There's always a section on the top. It's a pyramid, right? I mean, even Jordan Peterson was talking about that pyramid, right? The hierarchies is
Yeah, the
always there.
hierarchy.
That's just how things structured
Naturally
with
organized, yeah.
it's a natural way of organizing. There's nothing fair about it, but that's just how things are, right? I mean, why else would it be the case? I mean, if there's something better, wouldn't we be do something better? Because everybody is driven by that incentive, and naturally, things are never on like this. It's like within a given system. Even if you have everything distributed evenly, eventually, you know how in physics, right? Gravity would just clump
Yeah,
things
because
together.
they're agents behaving however they are behaving, right? So it is kind of like physics and like science, because if there's a gravity and you throw in a bunch of grains of sands in the sand clock, they're gonna fall through at a certain rate, and it's gonna be constant no matter what you do. It's like that, right? An object that possesses certain properties will behave according to those properties in its own configuration. So if you have a person who has, let's just say, I'm actually going to tie this into this video you reminded me of, I wanted to talk to you about an instinct of power. Apparently there is such an instinct. You know how there's like sexual instinct and hunger instinct and so on. There are a bunch of instincts, and power is another instinct essentially that we all have. But this video that I'm gonna just mention here quickly, I think should be able to have a quick summary for it, is essentially saying that all of us have that instinct of power, but it is not naturally cultivated, because nobody who is in power is gonna teach you that shit, because
Yeah,
nobody is interested in that, because that's how you share power. But guess what? There are certain classes of people who already have power, and they are dynastic because they retain power. If they're good enough and if they're worth their salt, if they're smart, if they have anything, that they're able to do with their intellect, they also preserve power and they teach it to their children. They teach it to them because it's a certain thing. It's a certain like set of habits, sort of values, etc. It's a combination of things, but it also includes this instinct of power that if it's cultivated from a young age, people know how to wield it. I saw it like when I heard this, like, whoa, pretty very useful knowledge to know. It's like a Russian channel encounter that was, I think, a psychologist that was talks about lots of things like procrastination, laziness, and then these various psychological complexes and instincts. But yeah, instincts of power. Have you heard of anything like that before? What do you think about such a
You
thing?
know, when you say that, it feels very intuitive. Like,
Yeah,
I get it. Yeah, that's makes sense. I never heard of it like that, but it makes sense. Yeah, because the thing is, as an organism, right, you are always trying to maximize your own. You try to increase your advantages in the environment that you're living, right? I mean, isn't that what adaptation is, right? Any creature would try to, like, for example, if you think about how a tiger hunt or a lion hunt, whatever, in the wild, they're stock animals. They understand the tactics by which they will win, right?
mm,
They use the environments to their advantage and they get good at it, right? They like this is how they do it. They have it's almost instinctual, like how they gonna crouch down, move slowly, and then find the spot in the environment where it's gonna hide better, right? It's
yeah.
they're
There's a
seeking
whole method.
these advantages that you don't just go straight in because they understand, oh, they just escape. So I need to, hide myself. So that kind of feedback system eventually will give you, you will realize I have this advantage, had this advantage, and then you kind of naturally just gravitate toward building that advantage, right? I mean, isn't this what anybody does at a career, right? You learn this stuff, so you have some specialized knowledge. That's your specialty, right? And you try to leverage that. Be like, I'm the only guy who can do this because I understand this better than anybody, or whatever, right? It's like it's that. But the problem now is like, well, okay, you're very specialized. That just means that you are gonna be very vulnerable in any other areas. And that's how you basically everybody is tethered to this whole system. And anything happen to the system, we all feel it. I mean, this is currently what's happening in the geopolitical economic realm, right? With the oil crisis right now. And that's just it's exactly that. Once we start globalizing, this is the result of it, right? Where we are so connected, where any little thing can affect all of us, and we have no choice, right? There's not like, oh, I'm unaffected by this. No, you are affected by it. Everything is because we're so specialized at doing these little things, all of us, right? We're no longer self-sufficient in that sense that you can't do everything yourself now. I mean, you go beyond that now, right? You build all these massive structures like corporations and all these other stuff where it's like, every couple of years we go through a economic crisis, right? It's just like everything is connected in that way. So anything kind of go haywire is you just start kind of the domino effect and eventually things crashes and then you have to do this cycle again and again. So it's
Are you seeing this thing? You seeing my screen?
yes, unlock your instinct for power.
Yeah, that was a quick infographic I generated for based on that video, which is yeah, it's amazing that you can just do something like that
Wow.
in a couple clicks. Uh, but yeah, it kind of summarizes what he was presenting there. Unlocking your instinct for power. So there's such an instinct as this natural biological human need to influence the environment, which makes sense, right? This is what you do want, because
Yeah.
you know
It's
that's how you get anything essentially, right?
it's like in anything you think about, like say martial art, for example, right? You have an opponent, you need to defeat him, and
Yeah,
you need to find any sort of leverage and advantage that you have.
yeah.
But
You need to
because the other guy
project
fights
your
back,
will on him.
yeah, and that's why I see some of these video talking about. It's very fascinating. They talk about actual medieval fighting, in medieval like European style fighting. A lot of the tactics and stuff, like it's not what you see in the movies. They're all wrong, right? The real medieval fighting, they have a lot of tactics and things, and they used,
More psychological, right?
yeah, and also just just because of the time and what they're dealing with, with armor and everything else. So the attacks are very specific
Yeah, yeah,
at
yeah.
the gaps, at the. So when you see a real fight, like, it's very different than what they depicted in movies, because that's just very simplified version of like people fighting. But no, like there's a lot of things involved, like where you wear chainmail or this and that. Like, it's so all these systems evolve because you see problems and you try to deal with it, right? Like, okay, a guy has armor. All right, so what do I do to kind of defeat the guy, right? Because obviously the typical hack is not going to work. So I got to find different ways to kind of, so that's how things evolve, right? So anything that people kind of start experiencing in life, they start finding, okay, I see certain obstacles and I need to find a way to go around it. So that's how you extract that advantage. And that can be for for good or bad, be a operating principle that can be passed down. That will be the knowledge base by which, and these things do evolve as well. Because I did also saw another video that was very interesting, talking about how we evolved in the modern day, and not modern day, but like, relatively in human history in the recent, say 1,000 years or so. How they talk about the body's adaptation to disease. So, for example, um, in the Middle Ages, there was the plague, right? That killed a lot of people. So people who survived, they found that they are descendants that has this chromosome that is kind of like, having this chromosome means that your body have have like a strong like autoimmune system. That means the people who survive are the ones that had these genes, which coded for more powerful autoimmune systems. So they survived because their body was able to get rid of the plague, right? Basically kill the bacteria and survive. And they pass down their genes. So now you have a lot of Europeans having this. Now it's a problem though, because having a strong autoimmune system, meaning that it's killing everything in your body. They have a tendency to go haywire. This is why a lot of Europeans of European descent do have a tendency to suffer these more autoimmune disease, because that's what happened then. I'm just talking about basically natural evolution, right? You have these specific ways things are being, like, in society is people finding ways to deal with problems, but in nature it's like you have this evolved way by which you evolve a specific way to deal with problems, but things do change, and that causes you to kind of evolve more, which is why we learn about um, how to up our knowledge, right? In terms of what can we understand about the world now, what can we leverage, and that kind of goes into how everything is still, even though everything is based on that hierarchy, you're trying to kind of play that new game now, right? Because system has changed, and you want to adapt to continue play. You got to keep up, right? Basically, even though the game is still the same, you try to maintain that power, try to be doing as well as you can, but you need to adapt to the new the meta. Essentially, it's basically it's like a hamster wheel, right? You just constantly have to learn, constantly have to, like, okay, what's the new information now? What's the new takeaways, right? What's the new, okay, so now things have changed, because obviously that's just kind of like on the surface, right? All these new technology, like to say, all these new methods changes the way that we deal with certain problems, but fundamentally the structure relatively maintains, it's still the same. So the game doesn't change, right? But now how our, like, imagine, right? I mean, 100 years ago, people lived very differently than we do now. So we do have to face the fact that this is the current meta, and everybody is trying to play the game, right, within this power system structure. And but the problem is that now we feel more isolated. We feel more kind of like we're losing, because in a game like is the current setup, right? Like you can't. It's the feeling of you feel you have a choice, right? I mean, in a way you do, but you feel like you're constantly being pushed a certain like a certain way. Like before, you can think like, okay, if you're born in a certain caste, you're like, I have no chance to move up. So you basically just give up, right? You just be the class that you're, if you're a farmer, you would just be a farmer your whole life. Nobody think about, oh, I mean, some people will try to move up, but now it's like, oh, the possibility is endless. I could be anybody. I could be the president of a country. Well, like it feels like it's all possible. But the thing is, the system that it's already set up to kind of only the few can win. In that kind of zero sum game, only some people win. But everybody is being pumped this high, like, oh yeah, we all could succeed, we all could do it, we all could. So that's the copium basically. So that's the problem now with modern day life, is that there's way too many, not just distractions, but also it's the hope almost, right? Where everyone has it. It's like this is the lottery, man. It's like this is the system, is the lottery. And if somebody get lucky, yeah, you could win. But everybody think that they're all gonna win. But that's not possible.
I don't know. That's like a lot of generalizations. Let me finish this topic of power instinct first, and we can go on to the other ones. This thing was like the interesting part that I saw here was that he was talking that when this drive for power, I guess, is blocked, which it can be, psychologically, subconsciously, it can be blocked apparently, then energy converts into anxiety and procrastination. So that's this psychologist's explanation for symptoms, because when people are procrastinating, they can be chronic procrastination and anxiety. That could be one of the reasons, is that they just literally, that instinct is broken. It's not functioning as intended. It's not naturally plugged into the person's personality, I guess. Then they're not being their most kind of effective self, so to say. In the way he was explaining is that societal and childhood conditioning often suppresses the self-directed behavior. You're being told what to do. You're being told like, this is wrong, this is right. And this is kind of like an external force is guiding you and projecting this stuff onto you. Systemic needs often value compliance over independent action, causing internal conflict. Yeah, we see that a lot in, just thinking whenever adults kind of, as you're growing up, adults are limiting you, that you feel it very profusely. But even in adult life, you feel like at work, in like corporate structure. That's the worst part about it, is that there's a lot of this power bullshit, like power dynamic bullshit, where people are just, telling you what to do for no other reason than just to do that. So some of these symptoms that were mentioned: chronic stress, lower immunity, and behavior issues such as slave aggression or learned helplessness. Slave aggression apparently is when essentially people, you lash out at the people who are in lower power than you.
Right.
That's that's a natural
Yeah.
way to do it. So like that's where the term, I think, pecking order comes from. That's because in chickens there's a literal pecking order. If the, which I don't know what, like, exactly how it's measured in, like what is lower or higher, right? But it's manifested in behavior. From my understanding, is just what you let others do to you. So that means like poor boundary control and management. So if you're letting other people's walk all over you, that will happen because they just like, oh, I can do it to this guy. So there's almost some kind of, I don't know, subconscious consent happening to that. But that is a manifestation of it. So, but this makes sense, like these symptoms of suppression, because if you're doing something like that means something's not right. Like you're not happy, you're not content, you're not functioning properly if you're having, have to lash out or even behave like learned helplessness, where you're just used to being kind of useless and expecting others to help you all the time. And his advice for reclaiming your power was to practice self-observation. So identify where you suppress your desire to influence, which is when you feel like you want something, or you want to have a say in something, but you don't, stuff like that. And engage in small dominance exercises, like speaking your opinion or refusing minor requests. So just consciously, essentially practicing exerting power a little bit,
Yeah.
which makes sense. It's kind of like same idea as an exposure therapy, right? Like if you're afraid of spiders, just gradually exposing yourself to that whole uh, area of life will remove that fear. Here's the same. It's kind of like if you want to improve your instinct of power, you have to practice it, which is a very interesting concept. I really like it because uh, I consciously I have not practiced something like that. That could be like a thing that you choose, which is like in everyday life. For you, it could be like you could try and surcharge the customer or something on just try it. Like, well, I want to charge like more for this job or something. It's that type of stuff. It's a bit at the basic level. It's been a bit more brazen, I guess, right? It's you are pushing the boundaries slightly, but not to domineer over people. But I think this is how you establish healthy boundaries. You do have to
Yeah.
push them a little bit to establish where they are, right? You have to set it, but you have to
Yeah.
point to it. Can the boundary be this? And you keep doing it. Can the boundary
Yeah.
be here? Can we put it right here? And I think that makes sense because everybody is doing it to an extent, right? But if you're not doing it back, this is how you end up with your boundaries being fucking pushed all the time by other
Yeah.
people and never pushing them back. So this
I
makes a lot
mean,
of sense.
it does because there's always uh, from for any exchange, any transaction, there's a buyer and there's a seller, right? Somebody's willing to buy for this price, somebody's willing to sell for that price. So it's always negotiation. That's what life is about, right? As a person, you need to negotiate with other people, right? To see where things are, and that's where you establish um, that line, because everything is arbitrary in the sense that you can set these, like for me, it's everyday experience. For me, it's like I set the price, right? I know what the market price for my services is, and I have to establish, okay, I see this amount of work, I see what's kind of fair for me, I'll charge this rate, and is that guy gonna agree to it or not? Some people will do, some people will not, and then we can haggle or whatever, right? It's you kind of form a baseline, and that's what you have to do with life all the time, right? Because there is no set standard or set line where it's all between whoever is agreeing in the transaction, right? During the transaction, you just had to establish that line. So this is part of, because if you don't establish your own kind of, let's just say, selfhood among other selfhoods, then some people are gonna push into your boundaries, right? That's just kind of how it works. I mean, you would wish people would respect your boundaries, but they won't even know what your boundary is until you establish it.
But for me, like I find I don't like to engage in that process.
It is
Like
a pain in the ass.
I
It is
don't
kind
I
of like,
don't
I
like
wish,
because the whole process to me feels like a fucking compromise.
which
Like
is is right, because
it is, but I think I am just that.
I mean, in the
Uh,
perfect world, we don't want it. Like we don't
yeah.
want to
It's
having to
it's that
negotiate,
much of a
right?
principle for me to that like I don't even want to fucking engage in it because even that is giving away my power. You know what I mean? But that's
But the thing, but the
I
thing,
mean that comes with a cost, of course.
I guess that power has to be proven though, right? Which is why it has to have a demonstrative, like why when okay, let's just say, why would Vladimir Putin be in power in Russia? Because if you do anything against his wishes, you're gonna be gone. Okay, he can demonstrate the power that he wills, because you can't just say,
Yeah,
"Oh,
because he
I'm gonna
has real
be."
power.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? He maintained the structure of that power. Therefore,
It's like the scene from the what's it called, the Cersei's Game of Thrones. There was a
right?
scene
Yeah,
where she was meeting with Littlefinger, I think, and he was telling her something, like lecturing her on the nature of
yeah, I
power. It's
remember
like
that one.
power is like knowledge or something, and she like had her guards almost kill him on the spot. And she said like, no, power is power. And I was like, yo. So
Yeah.
it's like something you can actually
You can
wield
back
and
up.
demonstrate and back up and manipulate reality. And when you have power to tell other people what to do, that's the ultimate.
Yeah, and that's the structure, right? Like it has all this structure, a sets of dependencies and interdependencies that causes people to kind of comply. Because it's not just like, yeah, why else would it work? You have this one person who's saying, "Oh, I'm the supreme leader of this country," and people say yes. There's a structure by which he has the ability to to kind of influence that society in that way. Otherwise, nobody will say, "Yeah, why?" You know, who the hell are you, right? So yeah, so well, that's the problem, right? The cost to it is that you do have to demonstrate. Like, imagine, like, I know, I get what you're saying, because I also don't like that. I was like, hey, I just want to just do my thing. But well, no, because there are other people in this world who are not going to agree to your terms, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So you're going to have to demonstrate why they should listen to you or why they should
Well,
agree to
see,
your.
I solve it pretty easily because like even like these days, I don't hang out much with nobody because every time I tried, you end up doing stuff that like if I ask myself like I don't want to be
You
doing
don't
it,
want to do.
or or to talk about stuff that I'm not interested in. So then I'm
Yeah.
like, well, what is the fucking point then? What is like there is some kind of trade-off, you do get the benefits essentially if we're doing it from that cold observation logic, but still it becomes this exchange which I don't see worth it. I'm like, I'd rather just do that my own thing, and then the whole problem doesn't arise really.
Mm,
Like it
yeah.
just gets cut off for me. But I understand I'm a specific type of person.
It's
I'm fine with being by myself. It's all these other factors, but like just the fact that I don't like I'm just very painfully aware of it. I can't be just like, oh well, having wrong fun when it's all seamless. It's no, like I literally am there. And I'm like, I'm having these thoughts. I'm like, yeah, this is not, that means that this is not for me
yeah.
for
It's just
whatever reason, right? For whatever reason at that point. But if I'm having these thoughts and I'm having these reactions and emotions, then that's valid for me. So
yeah. I mean, we have always talked about self-agency, right? That's kind of
yeah,
where we arrive at how, as a person, that's how you should live your life. It's kind of, you do want to exert more self-agency. It's like, yeah, I don't want to do the things I don't want to do, right? That's how you establish your own world and your own kind of, because but I guess what I want to say in this case is like, yeah, that's what we desire, not having to deal with all this stuff. But I guess is the sacrifice is that only if you want something from this world, sometimes you do have to negotiate with other people. But if
yes,
you can get away with it, then not having to deal with any of it, then well, great. Then yes, you can do whatever you like, right? But oftentimes you find yourself in a situation where, yeah, I kind of had to negotiate with this shit. I don't want to do it, but what else am I going to do, right? Because I need something from other people and they don't want to do what I wanted them to do, right? So,
right, yeah. Just like I encountered this at work a lot, and then within the last couple of years it's become worse and worse, and I literally find myself on this project that I was trying to help out for my friend, right, which I told you about before, and I find myself having zero motivation to
because
be
it's
there
just too
because
chaotic,
it's not even that, it's that the people, like, part of the job is to convince the people to do their job,
they don't
but
do it.
that's for me, that's the least favorite part of the job, to the point where I am literally saying to myself like, no, that's not my job because I
Yeah.
don't want to do it.
Yeah.
I'm not interested in convincing you or trying to convince you to do it. If you're not interested, you can go fuck yourself. I'm here to do everything else, like structure
Yeah.
information, process, priorities, etc. Take on all of that. But when I see that other people don't want to do it, and then I am not, I'm useless if someone else has to do it because I don't understand the process. I don't understand the process of trying to convince somebody to do what they don't want to do. To me, this doesn't make sense.
And
Like in
it's
an
a
ideal world, that would never happen. You don't want to do it, then yeah, you don't have the motivation in place to do it. What am I going to do? I'm going to take a whip. I'm going to promise you, like, I don't have anything. This is budget free projects. So what the the person who started the project is doing. She's trying to entice people. She's trying to motivate people. Like, this is going to be an awesome project. It's going to be exposure. People are happy seeing this. She's trying to motivate it. But she's gotten to the point where she literally told me as a project coordinator to lie to people and to say that they are, like, she's encountering people on the trail who are telling her about her shorts and stuff,
It's
about her YouTube videos. I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. Like, that's borderline like
but
bullshit. I don't
But you
like that.
see, this is a miniature of what happens in the real
Yes,
world, like bigger
exactly.
companies and stuff like that,
Exactly.
right? It's like, okay,
It's that
we're not
marketing
meeting
bullshit.
deadlines, so just lie to them straight up. Just fucking
But
make up something. Just
that's how bullshit starts and multiplies. This is my problem with it, is that it's how you do anything is how you do everything, And it seems like it's not a big deal, right? It's just to keep the gears moving. But I think it is. Because if you have to do that, well, then there's something is not working. Like, something at
everything
the
turns to
core of it
shit.
is a
Yeah,
problem, right? And you
yeah,
can't mask problems. They don't go away. You can't plaster all of them over them and like hope that nothing happens. I do really believe that.
yeah. It's true. But because of short-term gains and stuff, right? Short-sightedness, a lot of people chose that, like just lying about things until stuff blow up because a lot of the time it's just defer responsibility, right? Some people in the chain of that structure will be like, well, it's not my problem. So they push it off, and then the other guy, next guy push it off. Next guy push it off. This is why we can't have nice things because when we all do that, well, that's exactly what will happen. It's like, you know, if there's a statutory holiday, like a big one, if you go out into the city, you're gonna get congested. Like the road's gonna be congested because everybody was thinking the same thing. Oh, I'm gonna go
Yeah,
out on a Saturday. You know
yeah.
what? That's what happens. So, but everybody think like
Everybody
that.
thinks
So
the same way. Yeah. This topic also reminded me of the show I'm watching now, the Silicon Valley, that startup that's trying to be a tech startup. They also encounter the same problem as, like, they're trying to spin up their business, and then so they have a little app that they're trying to get users on, and they inflated the numbers to get the public and investors on. So they forged the numbers of users, and that snowballed. Somebody learned about it. Their reputation got ruined. It's that type of stuff. Like,
yeah,
it's not gonna be. It's not gonna work out. It's not
it's
gonna be.
inspired by
Yeah,
real event. There are
truth
some
comes
people, right,
out.
that did
People will.
that.
Yeah, people will examine it at some point, and it will become known. And the fact that you lied and you literally tried to present reality that is not accurate will backfire. Because no matter how you spin it, essentially that's fraud.
Yeah,
And I
that's the
think at
case.
that point it's legally fraud. But that's what that's it's never justified. Like, when is it justified? The only thing I can think of is maybe, like, I'm sure governments do a lot of stuff like this, because then it's somewhat justified because there is such a thing as public mentality and crowd psychology, because it's one thing if it's one-on-one conversation, but if it's like people in power telling the rest of the country, like, no, everything's about to hit the fan, and, like, there's going to be a shortage of supplies in a couple of weeks, that itself will create the panic and chaos.
Yeah,
That is what you literally have to be accurately consider what you're giving out and information and what you're sharing with whom. And that's
yeah,
present in any organization, in any company, because, like, it's kind of like part of it is damage control, part of it is strategizing. So I understand that full truth and facts cannot be shared with everybody at all times. But that's, to me, it seems like any kind of human enterprise has to deal with bullshitting in some way, shape, or form. Because that's how you also shape the narrative and reality and what things are. Because everything is constantly in flux, Nobody's constantly succeeding and winning and being profitable and stuff.
yeah,
Things ebb and flow, and you do want to, there is such a thing as morale and positive outlook and optimism. You do have to maintain that. But it's just so interesting that there's so much of it in the human world that it's rarely that anything is what it seems, It's
no,
So weird, dude, that
It's
a lot of it is just complete bullshit.
everything is change, man. It's changing every single second. So like you can't even grasp like there's no set structure. And the thing is almost like we're migrating from one illusion to another, right?
Yeah.
Because like if you pump yourself up about the project or something, like, I'm gonna create this and that, that's fiction, right? Like you're creating something that's not real yet.
Right,
So
right, right.
you're trying to pump yourself up for an illusion and try to
Yeah,
make it into reality. So
yeah,
even
essentially,
that,
your imagination is there. Like, I encountered that with, it's like you have an intention, you have an idea, and you want to pursue it, but for sure, it's not going to turn out whatever you think, because reality is much more complex and much more, includes much more factors and components of which you're not even aware of when you have these
yeah.
ideas.
I just feel that, people should have more of this kind of mentality where, okay, we will face whatever, we'll see reality for what it is. If everybody can think like that, because the thing is, the
Yeah,
reason why, so I just say, for example, why does the government lie to the people about certain things? Because, like you were, in your example, you mentioned, they don't want to create panic and that was like, makes sense. But, the public also expect good news all the time. So it's almost like how in a country like U.S. for example, right? It's always about the election. But think about it: the whole thing is not going well, and people pretending that this guy gonna do something different, and then that will change the whole thing. So it's like people were drinking this Kool-Aid, and they choose to drink these Kool-Aid to be like, oh yeah, if we like this guy, it will change because he was gonna do this and that. Like, is that really how we expecting things to
it's
be?
just hope, really. It's
Yeah,
hopium, right? It's
and so
something to look forward to.
and also they're trying to hide the bad news because it's like, oh yeah, well if this thing don't do well, then you're gonna lose the election or whatever. Like wow, like that's just how everybody base their opinions on.
Yeah, it's like I told you before, based on my job experience. Nobody wants to think or talk about risks,
Yeah.
which is any
Until
enterprise and any project. If you really wanted to seriously approach it, that's all you would be doing. You would be talking about risks
yeah,
and opportunities, and you would have to track them and be conscious of them and stay aware of them until they are either gone or resolved or addressed. But that's not, like, when are you ever aware of, like, when is any leader, any political leader or anything talk about any of that, right? They always talk about the vision and the fact that, like, we're gonna make that a reality, and they never do.
yeah,
They never
never
do,
do.
because that's always just a story that
Yeah,
that people want to hear, and it's
it's
like,
like what do you foresee for us? Green paradise. Yeah, they always right, always green
yeah,
paradise. They
and
don't tell you
and the
the fine
small
print.
text they don't find
Yeah,
print, yeah, not included.
right? And then
Yeah,
there was that in the story of Dune, is like some later in the story, some Fremen decide to basically kind of go against Paul because like you lied to us.
yeah,
This
yeah,
is not a paradise. They fought all those wars. They seen water for the first time,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
They seen like ocean, and they seen the ocean for the first time. It's like no. Now my identity is gone. I was Fremen, and now this world doesn't exist anymore. So
Yeah,
my
that
identity is gone.
yeah, I just finished the third book, so part of that was happening. There were some factions that were essentially against that for various reasons, but yeah, for that reason as well. And that's like the most ironic part. It's almost like that what you want is essentially your enemy, like, even in that
Yeah.
regard, because
Even what you get
what
is
you want, and if you get what you want, it will change you. It will change everything. Like that in Dune, it's the most stark example, right? But the funny thing is that people don't realize that. They don't understand it. They don't even think about that. Like, yeah, you're gonna get green paradise, but imagine if you got it now, which is, nobody even thought that that would be possible. But then once people start getting it, we're like, whoa, 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 not like that.
yeah, not like that.
Yeah, but it's like, what do you mean? This is what you wanted,
This
right?
is what you wanted, right?
That's green paradise for you. You didn't think about the worms? Oh, how come? But worms live in the desert, not a green paradise. So what do you want?
Yeah.
Do you want the
Question
green paradise, or
or
everything was
not.
awesome?
Yeah. So it's like, what do you want? Do you want
Yeah,
the desert or do you want so
yeah,
because your life have to change, right?
yeah.
If your
How else
world
would it not?
change, you're gonna have to change. So, but people are like, oh, but I like that part of the old life. But
Yeah.
no, you can't have it.
This is why, like, to me these days, dude, I've been having a weird period in my life, with not being employed for a long period of time for the first time, like in a decade. And as had a lot of opportunities to like think what I want. Do I like this? Do I like that? And it just made me realize, like, in conjunction with reading Dune, is that, yeah, you just gotta be thankful for what reality is. Because, yeah, soon it will change. Soon it will be something else, and it will be something else for sure. Because that's the only thing that is guaranteed is change, right? So you might as well enjoy what is at all times.
Yeah.
I think that's the real it. Because this way, all you're doing is enjoying. You don't have to look forward to something. Like living in
Yeah.
that future or living in the past doesn't make sense for that reason. Because like, if you're living in the future or living in the past, you are not being grateful for the present. But this way, you're never being grateful for the present, because you're always either looking towards something that doesn't exist, or you're looking at the past that doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
And doesn't make sense, because none of that is real.
This is
To me,
illusion.
that's what kind of like the biggest spiritual insights are about, is about reality, the actual reality.
Yeah.
And if you're not grateful and thankful for what is, then what is it all for? That's all that is real. It's the right now. And you need to find a way to like something in it, right? To appreciate something in it.
I mean,
For
the
sure.
old man Frank Herbert just quoted perfectly, man. The mystery of life is not a problem to be solved, but a reality to be experienced.
Yeah.
Right? It's that. It is that. It's almost self-evident, but people tend to forget. Yeah, like they got their head so up in the past and the future that
Yeah,
they
you forget a lot of this all the time. But to me, it's you forget things. Like, this is why, like, you just gotta revisit this and think about this. But when you like maintain that idea, like, these days, I literally just talk to myself and like I outline, okay, yeah, this is good. I like this. Okay,
yeah.
this is exactly what I want. So this is perfect. And it's really, it's like, I find it's good for your mental health, because it kind of forces you to own your decisions as well, and
Mhm.
you're choosing, because consciously or subconsciously it is happening. You are participating in your circumstances, essentially, for sure. Because any choice you get a choice. I can like, get up and start some work right now. I could get employed somewhere, right? But
It's
it's not
always a
exactly what I
choice.
want. So that's a
Yeah.
choice. That's a choice,
That's
and that's you're participating in it.
Yeah, like I was talking about this guy talking about homesteading, and he was saying like, yeah, this is not for everybody, and it is hard, right? Do
Yeah,
a lot of hard work, right, to kind of
yeah,
maintain your own land and stuff. But he's like, but this is the kind of rule set that I chose for myself, right? It's like I
right.
refuse to go back to that rule, play
Yeah,
that
because you
game.
tried it and you didn't like it.
Yeah, you know that you don't like it, right?
Yeah,
He's even says, oh, for some people this is not it. Like they can't. For some people, they're just not gonna do this. They can't
yeah.
do it. But for some, if you're willing to do the work and be like, this is better than that,
It would be
then
better. Yeah,
you will prosper. You will feel great. You will feel energized. You will feel like there's purpose to the work that you do,
yeah.
right?
I can totally see it. Like, and the fact that you're like self-sustaining and you have all the skills to do it, and no, it's great. It's
And
like
you
it's
learn
all,
problem solving, right?
yeah.
You fix all the
And you're
problems yourself.
engaged, you're physically engaged, and it's all has a purpose, because the purpose is your survival, the basic at least. And the fact that you work for it,
It's that
that's
you
nothing
work
wrong with it.
for it.
It's perfect.
So
Yeah.
you see, this is kind of how I fell into my current way of life. It's like, doing this moving thing. It's like I do feel fulfilled. It's strange to say, I know some people gonna say, "Oh, you're fucking stupid. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Bending over, fucking doing physical labor, day in day out. You think that's fucking satisfying?" I do feel it that way because you know what? In a way, I am helping people. In a way, this is a real need. I'm not bullshitting anybody, right? I mean, I I earn my money, right?
Yeah, that's
I
what
fucking earn my money. It's not like
it's honest day's work. It's essentially, it's no problem.
yeah,
The biggest bonus about it is there's no problem. You're not causing any problems.
you're not
You're not having
creating
any
any
problems.
problems.
Yeah,
I mean, hopefully you're not creating any problems.
you're doing direct stuff without any negatives, essentially, right?
Yeah, and I do earn an above average earning, and that's good. It give afford me a life of like it's not like I'm not bending over backward for peanuts, But I know it's not great money, but hey, whatever. I do feel great about it. I earned
Yeah,
it. I,
but that's the thing. You always have to find that limit. You always have to find like when to stop. Because
yeah,
again, this is
for
where
sure.
another trap and another trick that people fall for, right? The maximizing their earnings. But there
Yeah.
is such a thing as you are compromising yourself. You're forsaking your integrity, mental health, family relationships, just to get a bigger paycheck and get into a bigger circle. It's really that's what you
It's
want. It's not
pointless.
worth it. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not it. So it's that you are overcoming that by understanding, like, yeah, that you don't need what $15 million. You don't really need it. You're not gonna
Yeah.
be happier if you got that money right now. It didn't have nothing to do. It's also that.
So I just think that, that goes back really into the realm of how do you find fulfillment, right? The fundamental question that I guess other people, and I guess all of us sometimes, we all do, is just try to shirk away from answering that question, right? Because sometimes we try to not face ourselves and be asking the real questions like, oh yeah, what do you really want, right? Other times we just give some half-ass answer, right? Oh, I want this, I want that, I want this, like some surface-ass answer, and you don't want to delve deep because they're afraid. They're afraid what they're gonna find out. They're afraid of what your true potential could be, right? A lot of times it is like that where people are not like they will find any sort of diversions or whatever to escape that, right? Sometimes it is from external pressure, and sometimes it is that internal because I mean, people live differently. Some people have different drivers, some people have different incentives and stuff like that. But I think fundamentally it is that question, okay, what do I really want? Right? What kind of game do I want to play? That's the fundamental question. So you shouldn't be asking like, oh, where do I fit in terms of like considering the outside world, but more like where do I fit internally? Who I am, what I am, what's my talent, what's my thing, what do I like, some more introspection, right? More understanding what you truly want really internally, what kind of drives you, what sort of thing that you could be doing that is of your own volition, and not because the outside world says this, or this is hot, this is the next thing, or whatever. That's just is pointless because you're not gonna be content chasing those, because as soon as you arrive at that, you're like, oh no, this is not it.
That's kind of most things. This is why I'm thinking that it's more about staying in the press. Like, it's more important, and it is kind of counterintuitive because I always, like, for most of my life, I was trying to look forward towards something, build towards something, learn the next thing. But it's all like there's no end to it, and you never do end up where you think you're gonna end up. So that's why these days I'm relaxing that grip of expectations and more just try to concentrate on the process and what I'm already doing. And because some ideas come naturally in time, for what's happening. That's how I got into the uh, several creative pursuits that I'm doing right now with both the podcast and then the songwriting and the music. Because I also, like, I thought, like, oh, it's gonna be this or that. But these days, like not much is happening with any of that. I'm just still doing it mostly for myself. But really, for me, the way I frame it and explain it, it's all about just experimentation and the creative process, exploring that, enjoying that, expanding that however I can, but kind of like keep it natural and keep it I'm trying to do it as consistently as possible and as every day as possible, but I leave room for, breaks and spontaneous inspiration strikes. And it's an interesting balance because like anything you do regularly and consistently kind of becomes a job
Yeah.
by definition.
Yeah.
Because I realized that, like, there's something about the repetition and repetitiveness of it that is like bothersome. That if you have to show up and day in and day out do the same thing, that there's some kind of tiredness that you gain from that. So I do feel that factor a little bit. This is why I try to mix and match with different different things, because this way at least I feel the variety and variability is at play. But I do find that it's necessary for me to stay more engaged, for the thing to be more enticing to me. Like I do need to feel it like it's a bit new or something. But
That's
it's very strange because like if you have any project, long-term project like that, it means that you have to do the same thing all the time. Just by the sheer fact of like, if you want to have a successful YouTube channel, you have to be consistently releasing YouTube videos. And that's the same format. At that level, it's the
yeah,
same thing. You have to be doing the same thing. Cut it up, package, upload, metadata. Cut it up, package, upload, metadata. Repetitive, day in and day out for a long time. There's something maddening about that, but that's how anything works. That's how, uh, you know, but maybe that's going to be my modus operandi at some point. I'm just going to be a man of one song wonder, one
one hit wonder.
hit wonder for anything. But I'm just going to try something, try it once, do it once, and so go to the next thing. And that's just going to be my thing. I'm not going to be mastering anything. I'm not going to be succeeding in anything. I'm just going to be trying a thing, put it together once, and then switch on to the next one. And that's going to be my portfolio. Maybe I'm going to
Jack of
switch
all
to that.
trades.
But
No, some people
yeah,
are
kind of
that
like
kind
that.
of.
Just trying it.
Yeah, some people are like that. They're explorers. They're sort of, they like many different things, and they try to explore all of. That's nothing wrong with that. I think some people thrive in that kind of. But I think like there was that video, right, talking about this M personality. I think that's essentially what it is, where you need multiple pillars of interest, but the strength of that is you connect all these things. So great
Yeah, you can
ideas come from that
synthesize
because
something good. Yeah.
yeah, because if you were just a guy who delved deep into one topic, that's all you know. You don't know anything else. Like, yeah, you might be able to find something new from that if you just drill down deep enough. But sometimes, all of the times, some of the paradigm shift type of stuff, it's just people connecting the dots, right? And if you don't think too much about everything, then you won't be able to connect that. So it's,
Yeah, so, and that's another thing that kind of like also tell myself that maybe eventually, yeah, I'll stumble upon something or be able to synthesize the different things that I'm doing into something unique enough that could be my main thing. But so far it's just been a bunch of different things, which has been changing throughout my life somewhat. So I do see those changes, and I'm fine with it. So I'm just kind of allowing myself this freedom to experiment and switch
yeah,
up, because it feels like a natural process. If it's like instinct, it's like hunger. When you're hungry, you eat. It's that type of stuff. If I'm feeling interest or disinterest, I'm allowing it to be there, and I'm not fighting it too much, because for some reason it's happening like that. You know, because like fighting yourself is weird, man. It's a weird concept, but it's literally a thing that happens. Like I've experienced it in my life where, I'm trying, like, it feels crazy, like when it happens, when you're doing something, but then some part of you is thinking like, well, I shouldn't be doing that. Like, well, who's talking? Who is talking to whom here? Like, what is going
yeah.
on? Why I shouldn't be doing what I want to be doing? Like, it's weird stuff like that. But it's interplay of that, yeah, that I've been kind of exploring, and it's been balanced out. I think that this bi-weekly rhythm that we went into with the podcast release has been a good balance, because it's been stable, and
Yeah.
it naturally happens like this right now, where I'm able to do everything else for the podcast and everything else that I'm doing for my other creative ventures in that period of time. And it's like all consistent. So it's all consistently happening, just with different amounts of frequency throughout the week, essentially. So as long as that's happening, as long as it's sustainable, as long as everything's keep moving forward, I think that's the signal. It's just still, I'm interesting. It's that sometimes I can think about like, well, can it be more efficient? Can it be more productive? But then I start thinking about like, why? What do you want out of all of it? And I do feel like the biggest thing I want is this kind of harmony where you do feel like there is not a problem. And like these days, this feeling has been maximized for me because at no point I feel like I'm pushed to be doing something that I don't want to be doing,
Yeah.
which is essentially exactly what you would want, So it feels like at all times you're doing what you want to be doing, which
Yeah.
is the biggest blessing that you can have, possibly, right? This is why these days, like, I'm not sure how long it will last, but these days I'm grateful for this because this is exactly what you want. That's kind of how I would say it. Because, definitely you can be locked into a lifestyle for different reasons or where you like have to do stuff, and comparing the two lifestyles, before when you have to wake up for work and that the angry emails and everything are waiting for you and you have to deal with that shit. And that you don't want to because who would want to deal with that? You're like, you don't want that.
You don't. You
But
don't want that. So
yeah, there is money and everything else. But if it comes to the truth and to heart of hearts, you don't want that.
'cause I think by and large, you do have to listen to your body and mind.
Yeah.
It's telling you what it wants, right? It's
It's
giving
a
you the
natural
signal.
reaction. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but if you constantly kind of rationalize it and force yourself to continue down the path where you're not happy, you're angry, you're
It's not going to work
neurotic all
out.
the time, eventually you crash. That's it, right? So it's about reading the signal, right? And then be like, okay, maybe the best thing you do is to make that adjustment before you crash, right? It's telling you this is not going to work, right? And you just have to do, the smart move is to do preventative measures and don't wait until, you crash out and that will be terrible, right? But oftentimes people don't stop until they, essentially reach rock bottom because then it's like there is no more excuse. There's no more things you can explain away why you're still in this
Yeah.
situation,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So is that kind of like you were explaining before, learn helplessness, right? It's like, oh, what am I gonna do with this system, this and that? Like it's just you were basically dramatizing all these things in your head, right? Because like you let these external influences come in, say, oh, the economy is bad, this and that, and then you try to explain it away. Oh, okay, this is the why, I'm in this job because, dude, the job might be very hard to find, this and that. It's all this kind of projections, right? Which doesn't mean that it's 100% not credible, but a lot of the times is that you got sucked into that again, that kind of future looking mind. And the problem is you can't predict the future, but you're constantly thinking about it. And that gives you anxiety. That gives you more like, oh, what am I gonna do if this happened, that happened? Well, you don't freaking know, you know? So you almost have to be content with just things on fire, but like this is fine. It is what it is. You what else are you gonna do? Right? This is constantly kind of my way of this is just by experience. It's like, yeah, okay, something happened, you gotta fix it. That's it. This happens on the job all the time. Something got broken, well, I gotta pay for that now. But that's that, right? We'll figure it out then. Whatever. I'm not gonna spend extra time worrying about it, like, oh shit, I gotta pay extra money on this. Fuck, this job is
Yeah.
fucking
Yeah.
fucked. No, doesn't matter. You don't want to spend extra time, doing no work and doing nothing that solves the issue. Just fucking move on, right? Just that's how you should experience life and not like overly in the head. So, oh, am I gonna do about this and that? I mean,
Yeah. You don't have to freak out about it that much. Dude, I just remembered a funny story from my life when I used to work in construction installing those kitchen cabinets.
yeah,
I used to have this Russian supervisor on site from our company, from my own company, who was hiring me, and so he would be controlling quality on site, right? He would look at the installed kitchens and make sure that they're up to standards, that everything is like even, there are no gaps and stuff. Oh, he he liked my work, so he would be like, we had good relationships. He would be like bringing me up to uh, sites with expensive kitchens, and I'd be like helping him there and stuff. But I heard him like he was so brazen. He was so direct in his communication with everybody. He's like no bullshit type of guy.
Yeah.
That to me it was really funny. Like he barely spoke any English, and he was working like on all these construction sites with communicating with other supervisors and managers and stuff on site, like with barely any English. But he was so kind of bold and direct in communication that like that compensated for it. But the funniest story is that I once heard him call up a guy who installed another installer who installed the kitchen, telling him like, "Yo, you like your installation is bullshit. It's full of problems. Like you need to fix all this shit." And he's saying like, "You told me you'd come into work today and do all of this stuff." And he's saying like, "Oh, you're not coming? So you're a fucking liar." He's just so ruthless. He's like, "You're a
Straight
fucking
up.
liar, right?" Because but that's as straight as it can get, right? It's like he's calling out a person all his bullshit immediately, right? Because like it essentially it sets a boundary also, like, right? We discussed this. This is what reality is, and now you're fucking with my bottom line, right? And when you call it out, like to me, it was inspirational because like, yeah, this is how it should be, like really, because some people have really much lower standards for what kind of acceptable behavior and what their word means, some people like really say like, yeah, I'll do it, and then they just never do it. And to me it pisses me off so much. They're because to me like that doesn't make any sense. And I've encountered such people in the extremes a couple times. Like one of them was my employer who like wasn't paying me, right? Wasn't paying me money, while every week telling me like, oh yeah, tomorrow I'll send the money. And I'm like, well, what the fuck is going on? You are
Yeah.
telling me to my face that you're going to do something and then you're not doing it?
And then you don't do
And
it.
that is regarding my pay? So what do you think is happening? Like, what do you think? I'm just going to like, okay, oh, you're going to send it tomorrow, right? Tomorrow for sure. Okay. And then it happens like 5 times. What am I supposed to do? I'm supposed to play this stupid pretend game or something? What the hell is that? To me, that means like, I don't know, you think people are regarded or something when you are behaving like that? To me, the only thing that means is that you don't give a shit about that person so much that you like don't do
Yeah.
anything about it. But to me, that's like the highest form of disrespect.
But you see, this is the kind of the devolution of the power of words. Now words means nothing,
Yeah,
right? Before, dude, in the medieval times, there are fucking oath. Well, even before that, right? There are oath. You
yeah, people
swear an
took words
oath and
seriously.
you die for that. Like basically, if you break your word, you die for it, right? Like if you ancient people, they're off their word. If they swear something, dude, they're gonna carry it out, no matter what, right? That's how you have a structure a society where trust can be maintained, because otherwise if your words means nothing, well then nothing is sacred, then nothing is ever right, because you can just say some bullshit and then that'll be, and then you can say some other bullshit the next day, right?
Yeah,
How anybody gonna trust anybody? Nobody can trust anybody,
yeah.
right?
Which means like if you tolerate something like this, then all that's happening is that the other person is getting their way whenever they want. Like it's like they're being like a child who's like, nah, I want ice
Yeah,
cream today. I won't have it
whenever I
tomorrow.
want it, then
And
I
they just
just
have it again because they just change their mood. Is that fickleness or something? Like, but that doesn't make sense because that's another person. And when you are you're essentially making a deal, whenever you're trying to come to agreement, oh, we're going to meet tomorrow at 4, right? Yeah, right? Yes, yes. And then they're just not doing that, and then they're like showing, and then doing that consistently. That's to me, like, I don't know how that person, like in today's day and age, that person should not survive. That person should be just consumed or something by the society or system, because how do you not learn these basic things as you grow up into adulthood? Like, I don't understand how these people still
that's
exist.
because society now deteriorate to a point where we tolerate these type of thing, right? We're no longer like putting boundaries and putting kind of rules and stuff. It's all kind of arbitrary now because you can identify as whatever, you can do whatever you like because you think you're gonna. I mean, yes, you want to self-actualize, you want to kind of have more agency and all that, but still, when it does come to with other people, you do have to accept a certain rule sets. In society when you deal with other people. In your private sphere, you can do whatever you like, right? But outside, you can't just be like, just because I am this and then that. And there's so many people do that right nowadays. They're
Yeah,
like, I'm
but
like
I think
minority. I am, I'm the victim. I'm the, whatever. I'm
yeah,
being
no, that's like
oppressed. And
definitely
then,
like psychological issues at that point. But still, like even that, like the society and whoever you're dealing with would teach you that. Like because why would it fly with anybody when you're behaving like this? Who would condone that type of behavior? Whether it's your friends or whoever else. I mean, in friends there is a certain amount of understanding and people just tolerate each other's quirks if they're things. But still, like if you're a majorly difficult person just to deal with, you're not gonna have much friends
yeah,
for that reason
I
also,
mean,
because like if you're just being difficult when there's no reason for any difficulty to arise, then it's just like it's drama, I guess, right? You're full of drama, which is subconsciously or otherwise you're generating it, you're causing it. Because it doesn't have to be like if you're going out to eat and picking up a restaurant is not a thing that is a problem. But I've seen some people like they just create a problem out of that, out of like
yeah.
choosing where to eat. They could be too picky and they could be too picky about every single option, and they would be saying like, well, no, this place doesn't have this place doesn't have that. Like, dude, you're gonna find something to eat right there. Who cares? But there are people who are like to whom it's like so important that has such special criteria, and it's only a small section of restaurants that they could go into the whole world because they have such criteria. Like, oh my god!
But you see, but that's the
But
problem,
everybody
right?
has
If
something like that.
we are a creature of our environment, so if you live in a bubble, then you act accordingly in that bubble. And when you get out of that bubble, then you face reality. They can't handle it because, oh no, this is not right. But why? According to them, like in your example, like, oh, this is part I don't like, that part I don't like. This, sure, in your bubble that works, but in the reality, well, that nobody gonna cater to that for you. So that's the thing, right? We all live in this sense of reality, right? Because we take every individual will take their experience and whatever they call it a reality, but that's just a version of it, right? So some people are so far up in their whatever, like they just completely living in illusions, and they think everybody else also living in that illusion, right? And they found out in society they're wrong. Oh, this is not how it is, you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like the biggest example I've seen in real life was that girl that was living at my place for some time when she was a student. She was parents were rich, and she was spoiled. And I've seen
Yeah,
a person like that in real life for the first time in my life, and I was just like flabbergasted that this is a real person. It was hilarious, dude, because
that's
one day essentially she could not handle any amount of responsibility or accountability for anything because it literally used to like I think used to be to a maid, handling stuff, but it was manifested in such things as I think I signed up a phone a phone contract in my name for her to use because for some legal reason she could not use it due to her status or something, and she would be missing payments all the time. She would just not do it because I can't, I don't want to, whatever. And it pissed me off because it affects my credit. It actually affects my credit. And I'm like, yo, can you not do that? You cannot never miss a payment. She didn't do it. And like, I canceled the contract. Like, good luck. What do you think is going to happen? I told you in direct, simple terms that this is hurting me. I am helping you out of goodness of my heart, and you're fucking me. What is this? This is not a good behavior. But she's doing it because she's used to just getting her way and
yeah,
not having to do anything for it. I was like, oh my God, that is so terrible. And the other
which
thing that
is,
was just like
hmm,
my major pet peeve, I was just driving me crazy, is that she would pick out the best parts of food when it was cooked always, right? Like the freshest bread, like the tenderest meat without bones and stuff. But she would always put up a portion of the food that is too much for her to eat, so she could never finish it. And the rest of it she would throw away. But that would be every meal. That's not like,
Bro.
so I'm like, hold on, you don't know, you are this old and you don't know how much you need to eat, and you throw away the leftover food? What is wrong with you? Why would you do that? What is the any reason you would do that?
But you see, that's the
Ever.
environment. That's the
Throw away food.
environment that's like
That's
opulence,
money.
right?
That's
That's
money and time.
opulence. Like they can just fucking waste money, right?
Yeah.
That's how they grow up in that environment,
Yeah.
which is a terrible environment. Even doesn't matter how rich you are, you shouldn't be doing that, right?
Exactly.
But to them, that's all like, oh, this is opulence. I can just
It's
waste
essentially
food.
like it doesn't matter, right? It's like, oh, who cares? But except, and it's so bad that you don't even see that it's a problem. It might not be a problem in your home, right? Where it's like, yeah, you
It's a
do
norm.
buy it and you have too much money, who cares, right? But when you're in someone else's home and someone else is cooking for you and they put in the time and money and effort to do it, and you're doing that, that is crazy, dude. What?
You know what is remind me? It's back in China back in the day in the 80s or whatever, right? When the country was poor. You know what? Well, they used to some places they kidnap children to sell them.
Yeah, as you do.
Human trafficking. You know what they do is they get these kids in a room with full cooked meal. Sometimes there will be fish, or they will give them a dish that's like a whole fish being cooked. They give them food, let them eat, and they will observe. Where is that certain kid would get the best part?
Right.
They would just go for that best part. They know, okay, this is a rich kid. This is a rich ass kid from a rich family. They so we're gonna sell for more money for this one because all the other ones they are not rich.
Smokes,
They're
that
not
is smart.
Yeah, because the habits, right? The habits in their families is very different.
They give you away.
It gives it away, right? Right then and there. That's how you can tell. Okay, this is their parents are rich, so we're gonna.
Damn, that's smart. Holy smokes.
See, sometimes these things it give you away, right?
Yeah.
Like it's certain. It's
They
like
make you who you are.
yeah, and also remind me of the other thing was this is real. Americans in the Cold War sent a lot of spies to the Soviet Union, and they end up getting caught so frequently. And then you know what happened is they found out that the reason why is these people when they're on stakeouts and whatever surveillance, they just lean against the wall. That's an American thing. Like in America, that's a norm thing. Like if you just stand somewhere outside, like smoke a cigarette, you just lean on the wall. But in Russia, in Soviet Union, nobody does that. That's not normal. That's like you're like it's
You don't do that.
You don't do that. That's like that's not etiquette.
Yeah.
There's no etiquette. Nobody does that. That's just you're a mental person that if you just like
stick out like a
you stick out like a Thor's thumb, right? So the Russians right away. Oh, there we go again. You see him? Let's go.
Dude, that's hilarious. Yeah, yeah.
Get his ass, right?
Yeah, it's stuff like that. Like when I was looking through some stuff translated by AI into Russian, I'm like, wow. A lot of it is like it makes sense that it's like you'd literally translate the words in order
right?
to convey the meaning. Like so, the meaning is technically there, but you'd never say it like that in Russian because it's just nobody says it like that because there's certain conventions and way of saying it that you would only have if you have lived experience. But like it's so funny that I would find it and I was like, hold on, this doesn't sound right. Like what the hell does it mean? And I'm like, oh wow, we don't say it like that. It would make me realize that wow, yeah, the language is not just words. It's like it's how people use it in actual real life. Because words by themselves, yeah, they're not even work like that. It has to be in context. The meaning comes with the context, not just through the words.
The other one I remind me of, I think it was World War One or what. I think it was World War One, where in the war, so they will also have spies in the enemy camps and stuff like that. They'd infiltrate, right? So I think it was in the German camp. Yeah, the English spy got busted because the way he spread the butter on the bread. Because
Mm.
what they do is put in the middle and spread outside to the outside,
Mm-hmm.
but the Germans spread it from the outside in because there's not enough butter. So you get a better coverage if you do from the outside because there's less supplies in the German side.
Yeah, yeah.
But the British, they have more supplies.
Yeah,
They weren't
it's
blockaded. So
small
they're,
stuff like
and
that.
also just maybe just culturally, right? They were
Yeah, yeah.
more, it's different. And also just because, yeah, you came from a rich place when you spread like that, like so they immediately found that because no German would do that because everybody is hungry. Nobody got, just a
Yeah,
food shortage.
it's common sense like that, right? They would only
Yeah,
have if you are actually that.
live in
Yeah.
that society, in
Yeah,
that
there's so
place.
much of it. Like there's so many
You would just
nuances
give
like that
away.
that you would be, yeah, for sure. That you think like, oh, sure, like as a human, you would just do it that way, right? Like you would not even think about it.
Yeah.
But then to everybody else is so apparent because like if you live in a reality where the butter is scarce, then it's just a natural, logical thing to do it that way, right? Which everybody does. So it would come out, yeah. If
So you
you,
see, everybody living in their bubble, right? So
yeah,
this is
everybody's
why
shaped by their experiences.
the information and the constant kind of dissection of that is important, right? Because all these things happen because a lot of the time it's just inertia, right? People do things by inertia. It's like they live this way and therefore they just carry it out like that automatically without thinking. But yeah, but when you dealing with other people, different social circles, different type of environments, and yeah, that's gonna clash, right? So I guess the sensible person will be like, okay, I want to learn as much of the society in general as possible so that I can get a sense of what the real reality is for a lot of people. And you will be much more adjusted to kind of navigate the world because otherwise you will be ill adjusted, like the girl you're talking about, like just essentially, oh, this is how I always done it. Well, don't you think that you're not at home anymore, right?
Yeah.
So, you kind of expand your kind of perception as much as
And
possible in the different places
yeah,
that
I
you're.
guess naturally you don't want to do that, right? Because change, you have to change, you have to adjust, you have to compromise on your comforts, I guess. So that's naturally why you don't want to do that. But that's when also it depends on what you can afford, right? Because like, yeah, in society, like if you are like if you live in a society of your peers, where, as an adult, like if you move it, if you're in a
Mm,
college, if you
yeah,
live in a dorm and you start behaving like that, you're gonna be in trouble because people are like, what the shit? This is not
yeah,
cool to all of
you
us,
could be
right?
taught a lesson right,
Yeah,
very,
like
very
if we all
quick.
behave like this, is gonna be a problem. Like, what are you doing? Like, you do need to consider other people uh, when you're sharing context, environments, and resources, and just company and everything. You definitely don't want to be behaving like you're by yourself, essentially, right?
Yeah, and the other thing this remind me of, as children when we grow up, as like from the time we were a baby, right? It's just kind of we're pushing the boundaries all the time, right? Because a baby they have no sense of anything. They're just like everything seems like they can just expand, right? In terms of what they can do, they try to test out the environment and this and that, and sometimes they push the boundary a bit too much, and the parents will teach them, right? Oh, you can't do this. This is not acceptable, right? And then slowly you learn, oh, okay, so this is the rule. This is how I'm supposed to do things. And this kind of correlates to the sort of like, you don't want this unboundedness. You don't want to, even though it feels great to be like, oh, the world is my oyster. I can do whatever I like. Well, the world has constraints. And I think not only do you learn that constraint, but also creativity comes from constraint. It's not being creative when there's no boundaries, right? You are creative when there is a boundary, and you have to find ways to still achieve a newness, invention, or some kind of thing, given the fact that you have this constraint. Because without constraint, nothing will work. Because humans deal with that, right? Like whether that's like an engineering problem or any creative solution, it's just like, why would you call it creative? It's just because, oh wow, that's like
Yes,
nobody
it's
thought you can solve this thing
specific
in this
parameters
way,
that you have to
right?
deal with. Yeah.
So that's
Also that, yeah, about the childhood and development, it reminded me of the other few points from that video about the instinct of power. It was talking about that in early childhood, we're full of natural curiosity and initiative, but through parental and educational suppression, kind of this energy is gradually diminished. But those developmental phases are that age around 3, the child is like, oh, I can do it myself, where they have that natural urge to start and exert power and exert agency, where like, no, I do it
Right.
myself, right? And they
Yeah.
like would get upset and could argue with their parents, like, no, I want to do it myself. So that's age 3. And age 4 to 6, there's a formation of conscious initiative and negative feedback suppression action. So like you have to start dealing with the fact that people tell you no, and then you have to kind of struggle. There is a power struggle
Yeah.
starts to enter a person's, where you're actually conscious of it, right? You're able to register it, and then you're able to understand, okay, this is how the world is. And like people are not letting me do stuff just like that anymore, right? And then ages 10 to 12, hierarchy formation and dominance desires emerge, but are socially discouraged. So that's further when you start having maybe some thoughts and ideas that are about this or that, but the external world is kind of like it meets that wall and resistance from the external world, where society starts telling you like, no, 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 you can't be doing that. And then ages 14 to 15, adolescents seek autonomy but are often restrained, delaying independence. So that's where you approach an adulthood and you want to be, the freest and autonomous as possible, but you're technically not an adult yet. You have to lots of fights with your parents probably. And yeah, it's an interesting perspective on the fact that we are growing up to be this autonomous individuals, but it is through the struggle of our own will and desires and instinct for power reconcile against everybody else. Because it's like you have to imagine yourself being like multiplied to infinity, essentially. What would it be like to live in a society of you? And you have to behave in a way where that society would be harmonious. And that means it's not like you can't be just doing whatever you want whenever you want it, because that means you're not thinking about the effects of your actions on the rest of the people. But the rest of the people are you in this thought experiment, So ideally, you'd want to behave in a way that you want others to behave like in your company, you know? So it's kind of like this
Yeah.
recursive thinking, but that would force you to behave in a way where there's no problem. It's like, I don't remember where I heard it from, maybe some TV show or something, but it was a rule of thumb that said that one should behave in a way where if everybody behaved that way, there would be no problem. An example of that, you can take any example and it works. That's what amazes me. For example, if everybody keeps throwing trash on the street, would there be a problem? Yes. Therefore, you should not throw trash in the street. Stuff like that. If you wanted to come or walk down the street and punch somebody in the face because you felt like it. Is that a good idea? No, because if everybody was walking around punching each other in the face, it would be a very unhappy society. Stuff like that, And I thought it's a great rule of thumb because anytime you apply it, it works.
Yeah. Well, I
And
wish
again,
that
like,
works.
do you want to live in a society where everybody declares fraudulent claims about their products? Therefore, all the products are bullshit and none of them work in the way that you want them to work and expect them to work. No, you don't want to do that, because then all the products would be bullshit, nothing would work, and everybody would not trust nobody.
That's what's happening in society, man. I
Because
mean,
I
by and
think I
large,
guess we're getting dumber or something, because I don't know what else. Like, we're
it
not
is dumb, right?
learning.
But people think that they're being smart about it. Like, oh, I get to gain the advantage over somebody or whatever, right? But this is the reason why I can't return to my country of origin. I can't go back to China anymore because that's how they do it. That's how they do it back there, man. I can't take that no more. No way. I'm sorry, but exactly
It's
as you were
such
explaining it.
degrees of BS
Yeah.
that you're
Yeah,
essentially
it's
like
just
don't
everything is
want to
fraudulent. Everything is
tolerate it.
fraudulent. Everybody's trying to get you somehow, right? So it's like a zero sum game. The moment you walk outside the door, right? Your home is the only place where there is no BS, but you're gonna be constantly thinking about the kind of BS that is gonna. So you're never at peace, right? So in comparison, yeah, okay. I mean, no society is perfect, but I don't know. Life in Canada, this is like heaven compared to what you had to deal with,
Yeah.
there, where it's
Sometimes you do
just
have to
constantly
compare.
anxiety, constant sort of like you're just not a good existence. Like mentally, you're just exhausted all the time, because everybody just chase that short term thing. They don't care about the like, like, of course it's logical. Yeah, if you do this, it screw somebody else, and somebody else is gonna screw you back, and that's a recipe for disaster, right? But everybody's doing that because everybody only care about their own kind of short term gains, and that's the problem.
But it's like, I think it's the problem in China only because it's too overt, right? Like it's not
Yeah,
covert enough.
it's like it's accepted basically. Yeah, like
Yeah,
everybody just accepted this
but
is the
that's
way it is.
crazy though.
It's a learned helplessness, right? In this case, yeah, it is that you
Now
learn.
it's like normalized culture. Like I
Yeah,
remember
which
seeing
is
a video of this one Western businessman who was telling this anecdote about his experience with trying to deal with Chinese businessmen when he went to China
it's
to sign a contract,
bro.
and it's the signing and everybody's there, and he looking at the contract and the sum was like
Yeah,
twice the price or something. He's like, what the hell is this? Well, are you gonna sign? Everybody's here, everybody's watching. It's like, oh, I don't give a
yeah,
shit, this is not the terms. They were expecting him to
yeah.
do
Bow
it
down
because
to the
that's what
pressure.
happens in in China, right? Because you can't lose face. But he's from the West, so he doesn't care about that shit.
Yeah,
He's like, no, you're obviously trying to manipulate me, so no, goodbye. But that to me was like, wow, it's at that level. But that's way too brazen. That's like not even. That's like looking somebody in the eyes and like, you're gonna be my bitch, right?
yeah,
That's
yeah. It's like
doesn't work in all
the
societies.
subtext is like every time there's an interaction between two Chinese person, it's like the subtext, right? It's like, sup, you gonna fuck me over? Well, let's
Yeah,
see what you're gonna do.
yeah, yeah.
It's this kind of like playing checker, right? It's like, yeah, you're gonna do this? Okay,
There's
you're gonna checkmate
automatic
me? Okay.
questions like, okay, how is
Yeah.
this guy fucking me over?
Yeah.
Okay,
So every time
you're
you're like,
doing this? Okay.
any potential person approaches you, your mind goes, okay, so let's see what kind of
Okay,
fucked
okay.
up shit he's gonna try to
What
do
is he
here.
doing? Okay.
What is this?
Let's see. What kind of bullshit is this?
Yeah, you never approach somebody with like, it's not normal. You don't approach
Yeah.
anybody normally. Like, oh, I think this is gonna be. It is as described. I'm just
Yeah,
gonna
yeah,
do this
yeah.
thing with this
Yeah,
person.
yeah.
No, it's always gonna be. Oh, you're trying to get me this way, right? So if you learn enough of this, you will just be prepared for the most part, right? So you'll be. Oh, you gotta show that you are no bullshit. You can't bullshit me, and you have the upper hand that you know everything about this thing, and so they know when they know they can't bullshit you, then they're gonna deal with you because okay, I guess you got the memo. Then so they will basically gauge you. Are you an idiot or are you, prepared enough that you know enough that you're not gonna get a shakedown, right? So it's that level of like recognizing who you're dealing with, right? And there's always this sort of also like this networking thing because networking or this relationship web is a big thing in China, right? It's who you know, not what you do, right? And that's what's tiresome. Like for me, I can't do that. I'm not a people's person. I'm not, doesn't work that way. But that's how you gain, like you say, power
Yeah,
and
it's
status and
it's everywhere
whatever,
like that.
right?
It's the relationships, and they're you have to invest in them, you have to develop them, you have to work on them, but that's not for everybody. It's not.
No, and it's also right. Like I remember there was a person explaining this thing about Russia as well. And it really is fascinating. It's also kind of very similar in that sense, where it is this power play. Like the moment you meet another person, just from the way they speak, you start gauging which status the guy is at, right? So there's a lot of that surface level stuff. Like if you drive a fancy car, if you in a suit or whatever, then yeah, it's all about that surface level stuff, right? Because that shows your status, meaning that people can gauge you where you fit and they act accordingly. And it does happen, like you mentioned about the power. The lower power ones, the one in the middle mostly, they will abuse the one underneath them because they feel like that's where my power comes from. Because I know I can't do anything about the one above me, but I can always abuse the one below me. So that's why people are constantly gauging, okay, what level are you at, right? Like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah, dude, it's like it's pretty bad in Russia as well because there's definitely the upper echelon of people who are comparatively to everybody else are definitely living it up, like in terms of lifestyle and uh, just enjoying life, really, like having best of everything, luxurious, whatever. There is a upper cluster of people in Russia who are living awesome.
yeah.
Like the upper level is that you don't live in Russia. Whenever you really make it, you don't live in Russia. You live in
Yeah,
Europe
you
mostly.
leave.
Yeah, or you live in other places. But you still can be participating actively in Russian society's life by just, but like the upper echelon, upper level is that, yeah, your children, you send them overboard to live and study in Europe and stuff like that. That's the wealthiest. But I think it is still tied to the skills though, like, because you don't think that's very prevalent in Russia, that like you don't get away too far on bullshitting. Like you do have to have
That's true
good
enough.
skills or good
Yeah.
business or good something, because I don't remember hearing much about stuff like that. It's not too common that, like, fraud. It may be like just general corruption is still present everywhere, but still, like, if you want to have a successful business, it will have to deliver. Like it will have to do either services or a product to an excellent degree. It's just but the culture the culture in society, due to those, like the people in the upper echelons, they're so proud of being in that upper echelon that they're essentially insufferable. They're so much into the status game that that's their whole identity
That's all there
essentially.
is. Yeah. Nothing
But
else.
yeah, how much you have to be into it, that's your whole life essentially. I don't know. To me, it sounds exhausting, sounds fake, and
Yeah,
it
it's
sounds
vacuous.
like it's vacuous. Yeah, it's
It's
for the wrong reasons.
it's like if they were honest with themselves, if they're truly honest with themselves, they're not content with what they have. They're not happy with what they have, even though they say oh yeah, look at me. It's all like it doesn't last, right? It's just a temporary sort of like feeling like, oh yeah, I'm better than these people, blah blah blah. Like, but it doesn't give you anything because they're not creating anything of value. It's just more like, oh yeah, just because I got a whole bunch of money, right? And a lot of times that just really also sometimes if you don't do it right, wealth would corrode you, right? Your motivation, your whatever it is, like it corrodes your ability to just even reframe like what your kind of purpose is, you know? Um, and like we said before, right? Like your environment really feeds into how you live your life. So they are in basically living in that bubble, right? They live in that higher echelon society bubble, and the kind of people that they associate with, yeah, sure, they might understand a thing or two about business and this, and also knowing about the internal dealings on how to get rich and all that stuff. Yeah, I wonder if that's really what I mean, maybe for some of them it is, but for a lot of them, I mean, they're just doing it because that's how they justify it to themselves. It's like, if I don't do this, then I'm gonna lose the status. I'm gonna be poor. I'm gonna be this and that, right? Because there is a pecking order, so they must
Yeah,
place themselves on that.
it's hard to say like how much of it is motivated by just hyper survival instincts or whatnot, because nobody in Russia wants to be poor. Anybody wants to be poor, and there is a way at least to move upward. But I think it's like anywhere really. It's just the most cutthroat people do get most of the time to the top, but that's the society of cutthroats essentially.
You also lose. I mean, in that sense, yeah, sure, you can screw other people, but then other people are gonna screw you back. So eventually, even your downfall is also gonna be bloody, right?
Yeah,
It's
that's
not.
that's what I'm saying, is that it's like you enter the world of where everybody's like that, and kind of it goes back to what I was saying about, do you want to live in a society where everybody's like you? And if you became a person who is a cutthroat, who is, who does all these things to become rich, which is in very few ways to become rich without breaking all kinds of ethical lines, then is that really the reality you want to be living? Is that really the person who you want to be? Like, to
This
me, it goes
remind me
back to
of
that.
that movie. Was it from 2008? It was Jet Li. Is it called The One? I forgot
I remember something like that.
it's like he had multiple clones of himself,
Yeah,
and so
yeah,
he had to
yeah,
fight
yeah.
them. Like he basically like that classic meme part is at the end of the movie. It's like he says like whatever his name was, I am whatever. So I'm nobody's bitch. So he was killing all himself, like all the other versions of himself to be
Dude,
the
I
ultimate one.
forgot about that movie. I'm gonna rewatch that one. It's called The One. It's from 2001. Rogue multiverse agent goes on a manhunt for alternative versions of himself, getting stronger with each kill. Only
Yeah.
the last version of himself, an LAPD cop, can stop his crusade from before he becomes the one. Oh,
I'm nobody's bitch.
I gotta rewatch this.
Yeah, it's fucking classic, man. Yeah, but that remind me of that, right? It's like
Yeah.
if that were the case, like yeah, I'll probably be killing all the other versions of me, you know? It's like
Yeah.
because like I know I'm insufferable to myself. So like no, I'm the one that gonna take over this because I want my own, you know? Because imagine if everybody else is me, right? I'll be like,
Yeah.
no, I don't like you.
It's like a one conscientious part of you gained sentience, and they're just like, no, we gotta fix this part stuff.
Yeah, like this version is better than that version, so I'm gonna eliminate
Yeah.
all that version. It would happen the same way as if you have. I don't know. I mean, that's an interesting way to think about it. But yeah, it's just the idea that, we have, even within ourselves, right? Like we have almost like multiple versions of ourselves. Like we have certain aspect to it, right? That's why you can even form certain personalities
Yeah, no,
on
it's like
the serious notes.
oftentimes I am like I become aware of different aspects of myself, and
Yeah.
it does feel like different personalities. It
Yeah.
feels weird because some days I'm in a good mood. I feel playful. I'm gonna do some playful, silly stuff with my cat or something. On other days, like nothing like it. Like I feel I'm too serious. I don't want to talk to anybody. I just
Yeah.
want to be fucking half asleep like a tortoise. It's like so. It's different moods, different personalities, uh, different ways that you are. It's almost like different people in that regard. And that's another kind of difficulty for me about living in society and like being a part of any groups of people is that like I can't help for myself. Like I'm kind of I'm moody like that. I can't help my mood very much because if I
Mm.
am in a bad mood, it's like I can't do much about it. So I'm gonna be like not a pleasant person to be around. That's why I don't have many friends. Not many people are gonna be able to tolerate this bullshit.
No, it's also like I don't, my interaction with society is also very limited, right? Just work, which ends on the day. That's
Yeah,
it. I don't have to interact with these people
best kind.
a second time, right? Which is why it's very simple. That's why I don't have any problems. But yeah, if I do have to persistently interacting with certain people, then you get to know them. Then you're gonna be like, okay, well, can't say this in front of this person, or I can't do this you know, it's all that consideration, and
Right,
it's
right. Because like some people are completely not into those things that you're into. They don't know about them, or they could be even against them, and then you have this weird choice of like, well, okay, but if you do talk to them on a prolonged basis, like if you have like a friendship or develop further, like all of this will eventually come up to the surface, and eventually, what happens with most people is that you just realize you're too dissimilar. You don't have too much in common because like, wow, this guy is into that, this guy is into this, and I've encountered this with people. And it's weird because it feels like, why then how do you find friends? Because you end up you meet these strangers and you talk about this stuff and you're like they're into that stuff and you're not into that stuff and then they're not what you're into and you're like then well what then goodbye. That's how it works. You just don't have enough in common.
well, that's the only
But that's like
reason why it
majority of
works.
people.
That's the only work between you and me is just yeah, we do have similar things that we're interested in, which is why we can have a conversation, right? Otherwise, it's like yeah, oh, okay, well, he's into that, I'm not into that, and goodbye. Yeah, it's essentially
Yeah.
right because you can't choose. It's almost like you can't choose to be friend with anybody. It's just like yeah, it has to be just like okay, well, this thing just fit, right? It's like a puzzle.
Yeah.
It's like we have
Like
similar.
I had a good example of that when I was part of that music band.
Yeah,
They were playing thrash metal, and it's just truth be told, that's just
It's
not
not.
my genre.
Yeah, it's
It's
not
literally
jiving.
one genre of metal that I never even got into. But it has a certain, culture, a certain following. It's very brutal. It's very fast and chaotic. And the people, the bandmates in there, they were really into that stuff. They write all type of heavy metal adjacent to that style, right? So they would know all the bands, and they'll be
Right.
like, "Yeah, this is the song. Yeah, oh, you know this song." So you would be talking about all of that stuff,
Yeah.
and I would literally be like,
Out of the loop. Yeah.
I'm just like not even. I'm not gonna be able to sustain the conversation, so I would
Yeah.
not be able to participate, and that's how you naturally kind of get phased out because you're just not into it, which is
Have
just the
the
case, right?
common references
So
and
yeah,
stuff.
I
Yeah.
was just like, yeah, I don't care about this music that much. So it's stuff like that. It's just you're into what you're into. Like, yeah, it's weird. It's like you can't choose your friends like that. It just happens.
Yeah. So it's almost like in that way you can't choose your life. You can't choose in the way of I decided to do. I mean, because eventually you found out that that's not going to work out, right? Because you might have certain idea about yourself about what you want to do, but as you experiment and find out, oh, this is actually not jiving with my personality. Like it's very not conducive to it. So you find out, oh, so I'm not gonna do that. You're gonna gravitate towards the kind of life that will be the best under the environment and the circumstance. So in that sense, it's almost like, yeah, you don't get to choose in that sense, right? And it's just being kind of, I won't say not it's chosen for you, but it's like you now naturally become the kind of person that
Yeah,
you would become.
it naturally happens, which is to say, like on its own, because I don't know how else to phrase it, because you don't choose your interests. You just naturally get interested in this thing or that thing, and then you're it. It's like I don't know how it would even happen. It's like if you suddenly decided that you're gonna go and practice bowling every week. You know, that happens. Like some people do it, but then how does it happen? Like what is the impetus, right? What is the motivational structure that makes you do something like that? Where you like pick up a thing, or you try to qualify for the tournaments of bowling all of a sudden.
Well,
How do you get into that shit?
I think it's by watching the Big Lebowski, man. I mean, once you watch
That
once
is
and like,
correct.
yeah, that's it,
That is
man.
true. It is one of
I
the
want
few
to be
ways you actually get into
Jesus. I
bowling.
want to be Jesus. Yeah, you want that swag, okay? Like, oh, I want to be like him, right?
That is true. I do have a sudden urge to play bowling right now.
There you go. You see, life sometimes it happens like that, right? Your trajectory just suddenly changed because, oh yeah, you find out, oh, I'm actually into that, right? But you would not expect it because you don't know yourself, right?
Yeah.
Like
So
it's a constant discovery, right? It's like,
it's
oh,
discovery. Yeah. It's
I
trying things.
see, right? Oh, I'm like this. This
Yeah.
is it's
You're
funny.
like, you try it and you like it or not. Yeah.
I was just talking to my mom, which is just, on the dinner table, we just I guess reminisce in the past. I was just kind of thinking about, oh, what if I stayed in China? If I never kind
Yeah.
of emigrated to
Yeah.
the
That's a fun
West,
one.
in Canada, it's like I'd start thinking. So okay, so my personality is like this. So what would
Yeah.
I be doing? And one of the things I do realize, oh, if I think back to how as a kid, and it makes sense to me because I realize, oh, I'm just that kind of a lazy person because even young kids in China, like you get to it's kind of drilled into your subconscious that you need to get a good score
Mm,
to be anything, right? Even when you're young, nobody telling you specifically, but you just learn there's a pecking order in
mm.
the class and stuff like that. And some kids will get really sensitive about that. Like they kind of internalize that where they're like, if they don't get the good score,
Yeah.
the world is
They
ending,
really freak
right?
out. Yeah.
But I realized that in the past, my experience was like, it's like I got the C.
No
Okay,
problem.
that's life. That's how I would react even as a kid. So I wasn't thinking. I was like, this is my natural state. It's like, I just got to see. So that's
Yeah,
the kind of,
natural Taoist.
yeah, there's like, oh, this is a natural
This is
state
what
of
happened.
things for me. Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
whatever. All right. It's almost like gave up without trying. But some kid they'll be like, no, I must get a better
I must
score.
do better, yeah.
I must do better because they understand subconsciously. Oh, well, the order is like this. So if I must get to that level if I want to be, if I want my life to be good. But
But that
some,
also is a demonstration of a successfully installed subconscious program
yeah,
that somebody installed it into
they
them.
just you naturally start understanding the game, I guess. Which in that sense, okay, so this is how you play the game. But some
Yeah,
people
but
just
that's how you
reject it.
get inducted into the game. Yeah.
Yeah. So you got roped in. So, and I remember this is very funny to me now thinking about it because me and the other couple kids, this is elementary school. So there's this one kid who is like number one guy on the test score all the time, right? This is like the class number one dude. He's this kind of scrawny kid, very thin, but like he's very good at studying, right? So he's very good at the tests and all that. But he's kind of like that, where he's so focused and fixated on the test. So one time he didn't get 100 on the test, got like 98 or 99 or whatever, and he would just start crying because
God.
apparently it's so important to that kid. Like the fact that he didn't get 100, he's like the world is ending, right? And me at that time, I'm kind of chubby, like a chubby kid. And other four chubby guys, like we are the like one of those uh the bottom tier. Okay, we're almost just mostly not even like getting the D's and the C's guys, right? The four of us would just console this guy. It's like, what are you crying about? Look at me. I'm like, I got a freaking D. I don't care. It's like whatever, right? So what's the point? And I was like, it's like it doesn't matter, right? It's like what? It didn't affect. We're this kind of that's the thinking for us. It's like, yeah, what does that affect us? Like whatever, man. It's like it's just a test. But for that kid, no, he can't. He can't handle it. But it's just funny, right? Four big guys, fat guys, like surrounding this kid who just crying there, thinny kid. And then it's just kind of the mental image is funny to me. But I did that. I was like, yeah, I was with those guys. Like, yeah, fuck the scores. Who cares? But that's me, right? Just think back, so okay, now it makes sense. So why am I not succeeding in the traditional sort of like the scoring system? Is because I don't give a shit. Somehow I just never give a shit. It's like, I don't care. I was like, whatever. This is the state of this is the state of things, so it is what it is. I don't know. Is that just being lazy? Maybe. But
Yeah, that's so interesting. That's just a demonstration of how everybody has a different mind and have a different mind, how it works differently, which means it's good for different things. So let me read you about a parable. This is a Taoist parable from Zhuangzi about a useless tree. It's an amusing and paradoxical story. It illustrates the limitations of looking at the world in a utilitarian way and the true value of being useless. So in one version of the story, a traveling carpenter comes across an oak tree of immense size. Its trunk was so large it could hide an ox. Its smallest branches were large enough to be made into boats. A crowd had gathered to look at it, but the carpenter ignored it and walked on. His apprentice also stopped to look, struck by its great size and wonderful timber. He runs after his master and asks why he did not stop to look at it. And the master tells him, "It's good for nothing. Make a boat out of it, it would sink. A coffin, it would rot. Furniture, it would soon break down. A door, it would sweat. A pillar, it would be worm-eaten. It is wood of no quality and of no use. That is why it has attained its present age." Later, when the carpenter reaches home, the tree appears to him in a dream. It questions him about comparing him with other useful trees. It points out that they are merely used and discarded by the world. However, he is able to live out the full lifespan of his years by being useless. What is it that you compare me with? Is it with more elegant trees? The cherry apple, the pear, the orange, the pomelo, and other fruit bearers? As soon as their fruit ripens, they are stripped and treated with indignity. The great boughs are snapped off, the small ones scattered abroad. Thus do these trees by their own value injure their own lives. They cannot fulfill their allotted span of years, but perish prematurely in mid-career from their entanglement with the world around them. Thus it is with all things. For a long period of my aim was to be useless. So this story highlights the paradox of being useful by being useless. The useful trees are cut down by the carpenter and used for timber to build boats and houses, but the useless tree can escape the harm and live out its own true nature.
That's right. Be useless, because if you're useful, you're gonna get used.
Exactly. And like, this is some wisdom in that idea because it's completely true, right? If you're useful to that, in the sense that, say you are smart and you have capacity to solve great problems, well, yeah, you're going to be employed essentially to do that. But this is where it's like, who wants what? Because, like a lot of CEOs and owners of companies and a lot of successful and rich people, what they do is that they make other smart people work for them. And that's how they get rich and successful. Like a lot of businesses, companies work like that. Some say that the genius of Steve Jobs was what he just made engineers make all these great strides in technology. But it was the engineers who did it, if you think about it, right? So what did Steve Jobs really do? The vision? Like, what is that? Still, the people who actually had to find a way to make it happen like that through actual physical technology were the engineers. So, and they had to bust their ass at that. Like, I bet they had to deal with crazy deadlines and all of that. And that's the question. Do you want to be that person? Like, because you are being employed. Like, you essentially go be useful, stay here and work your ass off for being useful. Versus, yeah, be left alone, be left to your own devices to do whatever you want because you're useless.
Yeah.
And live out your natural lifespan. I do like that comparison for that specific reason because it's true. Here comes a human. He sees, well, that tree, I could use it. That's it, cut down. And the other tree gets to live out its full lifespan. What is worth more, right? What is better?
And you see exactly when that usefulness, I mean, I guess that's what society does, right? Each individual is gauging the usefulness of, especially for men, right? Men are being judged by how useful they are to other people, right? What services can you provide? Nobody cares about, as far as men is concerned, nobody care about your needs and desires, whatever, right? It's like, can you do the job? Can you do the thing that I'm requiring you to do? Or, so yeah, but same for women, it's just their look. That's it. If you're good looking, you will be used, right? They would see you as
Dude,
a,
that's gotta be so strange. Like,
yeah,
I
like a
was
resource
thinking
almost.
about that the other day, is that like, it's almost like you're locked in.
Yeah, like
If you're
you're the
born,
prey. It's
yeah,
like you're the deer in the wild, and all the wolves are trying to eat you,
if
right?
you're
It's like
born as a beautiful woman, people are not gonna leave you alone, dude.
it's a kind
You're
of
never
hell,
gonna be
right?
left
It's a
alone
kind of
ever.
hell. Even though, yeah, you can gain some benefit from that, but it's sort of like you got no choice in that,
It's
right? You're forced
a
to kind
certain
of,
thing is guaranteed in your life. Essentially,
yeah,
anywhere you go, people are going to be looking, men are going to be trying to engage with you all of the time because that's just basic instinct is going to be. So it's not even something you can do anything about unless you like cover yourself from the world, Like, because I mean, I've seen this effect on myself when I see like a beautiful woman in real life, like you can't even help it, dude. Just your face just turns like against your will. It's ridiculous. It's like, yeah, I'm dealing with this problem. Like, it's like in the gym, there's certain beautiful women and you can't help it because like it naturally happens. You start looking and like, stop it, don't look.
yeah,
That's so dumb. But yeah, that's like you kind of like fate. Talk about fate, right? You're dealt with that. You didn't choose your looks. You didn't choose your genes, but then whether you're beautiful or ugly, like that's gonna influence your fate a lot. Like just but the way that you shaped up.
yeah. Which is why I feel like it is kind of unfair for sure. Like at least for men, you can make a name for yourself, or you
Yeah,
can
you
do
can
something,
still
right?
do
Like
stuff.
you can be proven, right? You can prove yourself to be, something. But like that, you can't choose. You're born with it. Like I don't know. If I have a choice, I wouldn't want that. You know, like sure, if you're born beautiful as a woman, you kind of win, right?
Kind of win, yeah.
By default. But even then, it's well, it's you don't have a say in that. It's
Yeah,
just
yeah,
like
yeah.
you're
This
given
is what's gonna
this,
happen,
right?
yeah.
And you're gonna
But
have
the
to
thing
deal
is,
with
you
that
may not want it.
regardless.
Like, you may not want it. I'm sure the world is full of beautiful women who like hate their tension and everything else because they're like
Yeah,
introverted and everything else, right? They don't want it, but they
you
it's
can't
a
help. There's
reality.
nothing you can do. Yeah,
It's literally a fact, yeah.
and the
So
fact also because you're beautiful, there's certain assumptions. Even if let's just say in their life they choose to try to find a partner and stuff like that, and then it's always sometimes there is that like the reason why they chose you is just the look,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
They don't want you for any other, and then that's not unfulfilling relationship because like okay, that's the only thing you care about, right? It's like
Yeah, which
it
is
does happen.
for a lot of men, that is the essentially the basic standard. Like that's as far as they think, right? That is the case. Like they, oh, I find this hot. That's it. That's enough for me. So yeah, for women, like they deal with more this noise to signal ratio problem due to that because they have more specific desires for, I guess, the quality of relationship.
Yeah, which
But
is
for
why
men,
they had to have more discernment, because
yeah,
given the fact that like you can choose any relationship you want, like that's very easy for them to get into a relationship. It's just you got to choose right, right? But for men, it's the opposite. It's
mm,
like men are trying to be seen because you're not seen, right? By default, unless you're very handsome, born, and with resources and all that stuff, then yeah, sure, people are gonna pay
yeah.
attention to you. Otherwise, nobody cares about you. You're just, you don't mean anything
Yeah, if you
until
average
you
looking, you're
prove it.
you're invisible.
Yeah, until you prove that okay, I have more power behind me than just
Mm.
what I have, what you think you see me as, right? So I don't know. I'd rather take that still, just being able to prove yourself, right? At least not having to, yeah, but that's the life. You got to find, so that's why, I don't know, constantly this comes back to me this idea of like, discernment or perception or how do you see yourself? How do you see yourself vis a vis the world, right? How do you position yourself in the right way for yourself, right? Because that's very important to place yourself in the right kind of, so basically you want the truth as much as possible because you're trying to find out what the real information is of where you are in society, where you are in the world, and you can base your decisions according to that, right? Your own internal engine, what your desires are, what you want to achieve, what does that meaning is. And this remind me of I just watched a video. They were dissecting again the classic Matrix, talking about Agent Smith, how like the whole three movies, he was, in the first movie, he basically died and reborn because Neo you know, killed him essentially, right? And he was rebooted, but he was changed because now it's like he's trying to find that purpose, right? He's constantly telling Neo, it's like, you gave me something. Something happened. I watched you die, and somehow you still came back. And then you kind of broke me apart. So a part of you is part of me now. So what the fuck is this?
Hmm.
He's constantly trying to confront Neo because like what the fuck is this thing? And he's been searching the net, the matrix to be like, I was supposed to have a purpose, but now I don't have a purpose. I exist without purpose. So why am I here? You know? So that whole thing was like, so this is the brilliant part of it is like Agent Smith is actually the one. He is the one, not Neo. Because even Oracle was telling him, you're not the one. Neo, you're not the one.
Yeah, I
But
think I
he's
heard
the,
that theory.
yeah, yeah. So, but because you're right at the end of the movie, right? Because when Smith basically get destroyed at the end, it stopped the war. So he is, as prophesied, the one that stops the war and bring peace to the entire thing.
Hmm.
But that's not because he was a willing participant. He fought Neo for this constant questions. Why? Why do you persist being this anomaly that you are, right? Like it's you can't win this thing. And then, Neo said the famous line, because I chose to. So it's the idea that that choice is what kind of distinguish humans and the machine thinking, because the Smith is still a machine. He's programmed. He found this anomaly. He can't solve it. It's like, this doesn't make any sense, right? Because of this kind of, he's supposed to have a purpose and he lost it. And then he's constantly asking, why do you persist? Why is this going to, I'm controlling everything now. I'm getting everything into be me, my version of it, and trying to kind of figure out what's the ultimate meaning of all of this system. And he couldn't find it. And only because of the irrational idea that just because a human can choose to do it, there's no reason why.
So is in that the part that doesn't make sense to me is that how did Agent Smith come back in the first place?
So because he's rebooted, because he got destroyed in the first movie when Neo just went into him and then he kind of exploded, right? So that version of the copy just got destroyed. So the system reboots, just like any computer. When there's an anomaly, when there's a system error, you reboot the computer.
So it's
so he came
reloaded
back.
Smith, but
he was changed because of Neo's code. Like basically, what Neo represents is this kind of anomaly code. So he became part of Smith, and when he rebooted, he's like, hold on a minute, I was a program that's supposed to delete anomalies. That's what his purpose is.
Okay,
but now I got infected by this Neo. Where
this
now, like, what's my purpose now? Like, I'm not.
So it's almost like it gave him some kind of, so it's almost like consciousness, right?
Almost conscious of, so this is what. So he's constantly chasing this. It's almost like the analogy of spiritual journey. Like you try to find out, why is everything the way it is? Why is it this way? Why does it not square away with the logical world that it's supposed to be, right? So, and throughout the movie, again, the movie is almost like it's a big allegory, right? So the idea of so Smith was trying to, now he ironically became the very thing that he despised humanity as. Because in the first movie, he said, you humans are like virus, you just spread around and stuff. But he did the exact same thing when he, in the second movie, right? He just start, attacking it, all the other programs and kind of spreading himself, like, becoming the whole system essentially, because he's trying to understand everything. So he took over everything, because every single individual agent in that system, not agent as in Agent Smith type of, but basically every program that is not human, they have their perception, understanding, and everything, and the programmed way in which they fulfill their roles, right? So he's taking over every single individual agent in that matrix.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually he got to the Oracle. She knows a lot of stuff, right? She understands more than the average program. So that's why it's Agent Smith in that second movie on, is on a quest. He wants knowledge. I want to know what the fuck is going on. So he's taking control of every single agent in there to get their knowledge, to become them, right? So at the end, he got to the Oracle. So he gained all the understanding. So he almost can foresee all the possible futures and possible scenarios. And he's like, I gained this power now. So why the fuck is Neo still a thing? Why are you still trying to kind of like do your thing? It's a fake story. It's a fake fucking thing. It's, you're just like the architect says, you're just, this anomaly thing that just keep happening was accounted for. So it's like whatever action you chose does not matter. This thing's going to happen regardless of what you try to do, right? So Smith had the ultimate vision. It's like, I see everything. I become the Matrix. I am the Matrix. I know everything there is. But still you are still doing this shit. Why? Why, Mr. Anderson? Why do you persist, right? Why do you And then he gave you the final answer, because I chose to. So imagine you got mind blown. It's like, what the? As Agent Smith, you're like, what the fuck? You chose to? What do you mean? That doesn't make any sense. Because in any logical construct, that doesn't, the odds are so against you. I am the Matrix. I win, right? There's no way you're gonna fucking win. That's where the computer logic does not understand this thing we call, I don't know, human nature, I guess. This idea, the irrational thing that define us, right? Some of the stuff that we do that are so irrational almost, because
Mm-hmm.
in any rational reason, you say, oh, this is ridiculous. Why the fuck are you doing this? Such as things like in a movie, they say, oh, you humans, I forgot the exact word, but he's basically, Agent Smith, only you humans can come up with something as insipidous as love, you know? It's this irrational bullshit. What the fuck
Yeah.
is this? Right? Everything should be quantifiable, right? So he's using that computer logic. But the thing is, see, this is the law. He represents the logic part of humanity is in the allegory. It's like, imagine if you're on this journey of finding out why the world is the way it is. It does not quantify. You can't find the answer, right? It's like, why? We try to learn about the world, the universe, and everything, but there's something about it where it's like we don't understand the reasons why it is, right? We can find out about the how, right? You can find out about how the program is programmed, but why? Like, are the things they are? So that's if you parallel this with the spiritual journey, right? It's like, yeah, if you purely go at it with a sort of logical mindset, the logos, then it's like, well, this doesn't make sense. You know, there's something unquantifiable, unexplainable.
I wonder, there's still like potential for exploration in Matrix, because like with that scenario that you described where Agent Smith kind of gained kind of central power of everything that machines have access to, at least in that virtual world, what they never touched upon is the nature of reality that birthed machines. Because that virtual world and virtual of hardware, the world of hardware is like what is essentially the machine's ultimate game, right? What are they doing? They never
Yeah,
really
I
touched
mean,
upon that, right? They haven't explored the only theme was that of survival, but then this point of purpose, like what purpose could a machine have? That's what would be interesting to explore.
right. Yeah, because, or maybe that survival is the only thing that they define as the purpose, right? Like their server function to serve the end result, right? So that's why you can't explain humans in that sense, right? So, but yeah, this is why that movie is so many things you can dissect and kind of as almost like a make you think about all of the things that that we do as people. And so I do feel like the second and third film are actually they're great. They're not as a lot of people like trash on them and stuff, but dude, there's some deeper lore that if you actually explore it, it's like, wow, this is actually well thought out. Well, like it's a whole narrative that makes sense, right? It's the different parts that are kind of put together that gave you this sort of, because also the other thing, you're right. So Agent Smith was by Neo in the and the first movie, he was given agency as an agent, because before he doesn't have any agency because he's just a program. He does what he does without any sort of feelings, or I mean any sort of, he just no questions, right? I need to eliminate the anomaly, find them and eliminate them, and that's it. That's the whole program he's programmed to do. But because of interacting with Neo and being destroyed by him and being kind of part of him now,
Yeah,
he
it
gained
gave
agency.
him
It's like, I can
that ability to
analyze this.
question, right?
Yeah, ability to question, right? So before it was no programming is just the programming. You don't question why. But now he's like, yeah, wait, why am I doing all this? Why do you exist? So the quest is to, like I said, right, turn everybody into him so he can understand what the whole matrix is, becoming the full matrix. Then he becomes God in a sense, right? He will understand all the angles to find out, okay, what exactly is this? So that's the akin to the human quest, right? But if the human quest is such a objective search, then you kind of lose the meaning of the search itself, right? If all your search was like, oh, give me the objective, like every single thing has to be explainable. I mean, at least as far as we know, like there's always something that seems like unexplainable, right? Now, again, the Matrix is just a story, right? It doesn't. It's just a way of looking at things from a fiction perspective, but it does kind of give you this food for thought. It's like, yeah, so any of this kind of philosophical search that we have, like what is the meaning then? What is the purpose? What is obviously the answer is almost very unsatisfying, like, oh, because I chose to. Well, okay, but what does that mean? Right?
No, that's it. That's it. It's kind of what I was thinking about in terms of when we were discovering the topic of art as well, or when you try to think about the explanations for the world and the fact that there is not a satisfactory answer. To me, it's the fact that, yeah, it does boil down to the fact that, yeah, there was a choice was made to do it like that. Because, in an art piece, you just wanted to do it like that. If you want to invent something, if you want to create a world or write a book in a specific way, you just wanted to make it like that.
Yeah.
That's it. So it's like if there was a God and he wanted to create a world and he made it like this, why he made it like this is because that's what, the imagination, that's what came up,
Yeah.
It's almost like everything is arbitrary and it doesn't have to be anything else. It
Because
just was done that way. There
I
is no
keep
why.
I keep thinking about, like, imagine, yeah, if there's a God and he created all of us, what he's doing is just like, it's like he's creating a game. It's like, okay, I'm giving these parameter to these agents. Let's just see what they're gonna do in this
Yeah,
situation. That's basically how I see it.
yeah,
You know, this is amusing for God. It's like, oh wow, he's
yeah.
decided to
Because
do that.
that's
Oh
what we
cool.
do.
That's
That's what
right.
we do. Like, look at what we've done with the AI. We don't know how it works. We just put it together. Like, well, let's see what it does. That's what we're
Yeah.
doing.
Same with any sports. Like, oh, let's see if he gonna a whole bunch of soccer players, and this is the rule set. Let's see what happens. Right? Who's gonna win? Who's gonna That's it. It's like a game. So it is sort of like created in that sense. So even with the Matrix and everything, it's like, yeah, the machines just create this game to keep humans occupied so they would just continue to be the battery without a fuss, because otherwise they won't comply. I know that's kind of far fetched. Like humans don't really provide that much power, really. I mean, again, you just like, suspend your disbelief. But yeah, but the philosophical question, like, yeah, like
Well,
it's the
apparently, like a square inch of human skin, I think, radiates more heat than a square inch of a sun. Something like that. I heard that statistic because the sun is it's because that it's that huge, but we still possess a lot of biological energy, so to say.
yeah. So
And
maybe that's true. Maybe that
yeah,
is in
and
that
I even saw like
future
an image
world.
today, which is like, I don't know how true it is, but it was depicting some kind of way that they found a way to take a picture of a person on some spectrum in complete darkness, and it was saying that like this was the picture of human DNA emitting light. There's a picture of like human shaped silhouette emitting light. So they're saying, I don't know if this is scientific or not, that yeah, the humans kind of are made of light literally. So this could be some other pseudoscience stuff, but you never know. Like we could be energetic beings that are just who have not discovered their full capacity, full energetic nature. But I like this. I like this narrative and exploration of the allegorical power of the Matrix because yeah, it's so endless and it made me think about where else it could go and wanted to see if you did you see the fourth Matrix? Did you watch that one?
No, I kind of stop myself because I know I'm going to be disappointed. Because my first question is like, okay, why? Exactly.
Because
Why do you need it?
there's more stuff to do, right? There's more stuff to explore. And I was just looking into the synopsis of the fourth one, and I think they're making the fifth one, right? The fifth one is
Jesus,
in the
really?
works. Yeah, just not the Wachowski. Not the Wachowski going to be directing it one. Someone else is going to be doing it. But I think like after what you just mentioned, I think I can see where it is going, because the fourth one essentially, I'll just spoil it for you, right, and for everybody else, just to confirm where it's going. In the fourth one, the Matrix was rebooted again. So Neo's character is just living a regular life for a programmer, and he's struggling to tell the difference between the reality and Matrix. So he's like not aware, right? He's just being psychologically unstable, taking some pills and stuff, but he doesn't know what's going on. And then kind of a reworks of the original Matrix is that a group of rebels find him, they kind of convince him that this is the Matrix. It's the same thing, exactly, really, essentially, right? It's just older Keanu Reeves.
Yeah.
But then he also discovers Trinity, who was also similarly just put into the Matrix under, doesn't have her memories. but he notices that he has some kind of connection to this woman, and essentially they position the movie in the sense that it's all about the power of love, essentially, because they feel this connection. And then truth, it turns out the new person who runs the Matrix is some kind of analyst who thinks that he can perfect it and solve this anomaly for good. They discovered that this weird relationship between Neo and Trinity somehow generates more power for the machines, because it's a power of love or something, right? It's something like that. So they tried to keep like her without memories, him sedated, but through the power of love, I guess they find the way back together.
Bro.
They fall in love again, and they join the rebels again. And then in the end, Trinity discovers that she can fly also, and they both fly into the freaking thing, and then that's the end of the Matrix 4. So the fifth one is probably going to be about Trinity and her power and how she is the one, and
dude, you're gonna give me an
big
aneurysm.
disappointment. Big disappointment.
It was we already have a perfect ending as it was from the 3 movies, and now it just totally got. Well, this is the meta. It is very meta, because you see, this is
bullshitizing. Everything has been bullshitized.
It's a symptom of the current this rehash, right? It's very much the modern day.
Yeah.
So this is actually brilliant. It actually shows the melodies that affects us. It's just kind of like
ran out of brilliance.
Think about it. They're returning to the Matrix, right? A new version, a rehash, there's
Reboot.
nothing new anymore. Reboot, and then they discover, oh, it's about these 2 guys. It's like they're so powerful. Their love can generate more energy. Like,
but it was already kind of done in the trilogy. Like that was the core stuff of the movies, right? The love
enough
between
already
them,
the
relationship.
idea
it was already the power that held everything together.
And also, the memory loss, not remembering. Isn't that the current society? We forgot a lot of the things that we were doing back in the day, right? It's just like we constantly we redoing the same problems, right? Encountering the same old problems and forgetting how to do things. And this remind me the story about currently the U.S. just launched the Artemis mission to go back to the moon. Well, not go back to the moon, but basically they're gonna orbit the moon. And the story that came out of it is just kind of funny, right? On the first day, their toilet broke. The new toilet that cost like millions of dollars to make, they broke. So they actually end up having to go back to the bag, and they had to be like kneading that bag of poop for hours, because that's what you have to do. Like there is some kind of chemical agent that you got to put into it to eliminate the bacteria, and it has to be evenly coated. Otherwise, in the vacuum of space, the air will just expand, and if that explodes, that's the bad thing. You don't want that to happen.
Holy smokes.
So they go back to the old tech. This is the old stuff from way back in the 60s, right? They use these bags, and they just have to knead that poop evenly for hours, bro. So,
what?
But you see the new technology, right? They've spent millions of dollars creating new toilets
still backfired.
that works in vacuum. First day it broke. So the astronaut had to fix it with the guys on the ground, have the same model and teaching them how to do this thing. And then, so in the meantime, they had to go. So they had to use the bag because they can't take it anymore, right? Just take too long.
Good thing they had the backups at least.
Yeah, and then also, the other story that came out is like, well, a lot of the, maybe not navigation system, but some of the system that they have on board start malfunctioning because it is digital now. It doesn't have the same kind of fail-proof way it works back in the day when it was all mechanical. So those systems have more resilience because you it's mechanical. Right. There's nothing. It's not just some numbers.
I can easily see that.
Right? Digital stuff just tend to fail in some of those conditions. So that's happening. And also some of the stuff they no longer have because they lose the ability to produce some of the stuff that they used back in the day that allow them to go back up to space. So some of those tech don't exist anymore because nobody is passing down the knowledge how to make that specifically for that. So it seems like people had to relearn this stuff, right? It's been such a long time since we went
Yeah,
back
it's
there.
a different generation of humans who have to solve these problems, but that's how they solved it.
Yeah, so it's like relearning all this stuff. So basically, it's been too long, and then you lose this kind of continuity of wisdom, of knowledge, and capabilities, and now they have to regain that. So it's just like that's what's happening. So imagine, and also the other thing I remember seeing, they were saying how some biologist was just saying, hey, well, look, the fundamental problem is the reason why we can't go to Mars is because, look, we can't even sustain a colony of cockroaches in space, let alone sustaining people going on a journey to Mars that takes months under cosmic rays. Like, just not gonna work. This is the reason why So you can dream big, but dude, if you can't even go back to the moon, how are you gonna go to, because it's a very interesting quandary, because with the cockroaches, they're supposed to be the most resilient creature, because even with radiation they don't really die, right? But in the vacuum of space, even if you give them all the air, food, and resources, and nutrients, somehow they can't survive like a
Hmm.
colony of cockroaches. But on Earth they can. So what is it then? Is it the air? What's the thing? We couldn't figure it out. They keep dying in space, even when you give them all the necessary stuff.
Hmm.
So who
Could
knows?
be the
What is
gravity.
that?
Could be the energy of the planet
It could be,
somehow.
yeah, it could be that they couldn't, fit into that zero G.
Can't survive away from home.
Yeah. So there's also, yeah, zero G is very harmful for humans over a long period of time as well. You're not evolved, for that kind of environment. So yeah, that's all kinds of problems, that if you want to deal with, right? So it's not, dude, things aren't that simple, right? It's like there's so many, if you actually come down to brass tack and like, how do we actually solve these things? Like, yeah, it takes a lot of knowledge and these kind of understandings of, like, just the same with engineering, right? If you build a bridge, you got to understand about physics, you got to understand about these weight bearing points, and to make sure things don't fall apart, right? But if you don't do it right, people are gonna die. So that's just, you know. So yeah, it's the kind of world that we everybody is trying to figure it out. You can't just There's a lot of things to figure it out. There's so many different areas of knowledge that you can go into. In that way, I guess in a perfect society, or perfect, it doesn't exist, but I just say in a perfect scenario, you would want to be doing things that is kind of both internally satisfying for you, but as well as perhaps it provides something for the grand humanity, like for more people as well. So it's not just like, oh, I
Right.
just want to do
Yeah.
this thing for myself. I mean, yes and no, right?
Yeah. Like what is that thing? As we discussed before, like if you produce a piece of art and nobody sees it, then what do you want? Did you want to see it? Like no, right? You still want others to be involved in what you're doing in some way, shape, or form. Otherwise, like I struggle to see the motivation. I mean, something is obviously there. Like for example, all things even, like I would still be working out and like maintaining my physical fitness, because I know it's good for me and it feels good, etc. But it's not like, let's see, how do I phrase it? So that's definitely for you. Like that's definitely you would only be doing for yourself and nobody else needs to be involved. But a lot of everything else, like say, yeah, the stuff you're doing. Let's see, is there any good example of you wanting to do something that is purely for yourself and you would be content with the product of your own labor if only you yourself use and benefit from it? I guess that could be anything. Like you could be into woodworking and you're just crafting yourself furniture and stuff. You could be like completely selfish in that regard. But would you be happy and content? It's kind of like even take that guy with the homestead. If you're just say you were able to do everything and set yourself up to be off grid and self-sustaining, but then you're just completely by yourself.
Do
Is that
think that
is that really
this is the part,
possible to be completely
yeah,
content with that?
because I don't think so. I think for me, that even though I am in this, well, I'm living it, right?
You
I'm
yeah, you
basically
still need people, man.
living for by myself. But I do understand the fact that maybe again in the perfect scenario, right? You would have other people in your life that kind of form part of your
For
purpose,
sure.
right? You're not just
Yeah.
doing the because that's the thing. Why people do other like these kind of selfless acts sometimes to like save other people and and this kind of like try to be altruistic and things. It's just because in some ways it make them feel good, right? It's kind of like wire, like as human beings, like
Yeah, I think
you are
that's
part
another
of a tribe.
instinct that
It is an instinct.
you do want to be in some way social. Like, I feel it in myself. Like that's why I do
Yeah,
like to get out and like to just be around people because just that alone, I feel like is a need.
yeah,
So to be completely outside of the other people world, it's weird. It's like
yeah.
doesn't seem
I
like
just
healthy.
I just yeah, I just think that look, part of me is I'm perhaps that will be how you define it as coping, where how you cope is like, well, I can't make it work, and therefore I'm just like you find ways to justify. So, oh, I'm okay by myself. I mean, what in the way you are, right? You are able to be self sufficient and stuff like that. But I will be lying if I'm saying, oh, I'm totally fine. I'm just doing everything for myself. It's fine. Like I don't, I don't have any
Right.
of course, no. You
Yeah,
also
that
feel like,
doesn't
oh, I wish there is somebody I can share this thing with. I mean, this is why we have a
exactly
conversation, right?
share,
Like, we
but
want to share
also
these.
like there is fulfillment that that you feel if you are doing something that others appreciate just from that alone. Be it something that you do for them, a service, a job, a product, or anything. It's pleasant. It's a pleasant interaction. When you do something for somebody and they like it, they feel grateful, they feel whatever. That's how you experience positive emotions. That how you spread positive emotions. That how you make friends and good relationships. So it is definitely part of the big part of the human experience and well-being. So it has to be part of the equation for choosing what you do in life and how you live for sure.
Yeah, but of course, the tricky part of it is how do you manage the sort of the chaos that sometimes happens when you
Right.
do interact with other people, right? It's like sometimes it can be too much. So it feels like I don't want to deal with
Yeah.
this, but then you do know that well, you can't just do like I mean, nothing is absolute, right? You can't just be oh, I want to deal with nobody ever. No, you have to deal with people. You have to interact with other people. You have to, and you do have a
Yeah.
certain psychological, emotional need as well, right? So yeah, it's really just there's no kind of easy answer. You can't just be like, "Well, I'm just gonna do this and that's it. I'm gonna cut off everybody." No, it doesn't work that way. And this is how you go crazy, right? How you go mental when you can't like somehow you see all the all the problem that happens like all these mass shootings or whatever. I think part of the problem is these people can't they can't square it in their head like they don't fit in, right? And they kind of find different ways to justify why so they're trying to externalize. Again, this might be just generalizing, but I don't know how true it is in the individual cases. But a lot of times it feels like they just kind of blame the wider world for all the problem that they have. So in a healthy person would naturally just be more self-examining, right? It's like, okay, if this
Right.
is was if something negative happens, like, is there anything that I did wrong, right? This
Hmm.
will be a healthy way to think. It's like, oh, like, did I do
Right.
everything possible to kind of, so not you want to be
So
real
it
with
is a case
yourself.
of
You're
some kind
not
of
trying to, oh, I'm
entitlement,
blaming
right?
everyone. Yeah, this feel like yeah, it's like I deserve this thing, but I'm not having it. And so you throw a tantrum, right? And these people at a point where they feel like, oh, I have nothing to lose. I'm just gonna take a whole bunch of people with me because I don't want to live anymore. I mean, that's a very selfish thing to. You're just in your head. You're not even, But some people they can't square it. I just think that you see that's the kind of it takes a specific mentality for you to um be humble enough to kind of see what's wrong with with the world and also with yourself, right? What you kind of not doing, but also not so humble that you basically lose yourself in other people's, because you don't want to lose your own agency, right? You want to kind of exert yourself in certain ways, but at other times you also don't want to be full of yourself and saying, "Oh, I'm the one." You know, like how the fuck like that might not be the case, right? So but that's the thing. There's so many different people with different personality out there doing different things, so it's all chaotic. So how do you deal with that? Sometimes it can be just too overwhelming. This is why my baseline is like I rather not deal with that. So maybe the problem with me is I kind of like you kind of throwing the baby out with the bathwater,
Right.
right? You just like completely just filter it out.
But
Well,
also, like,
that's not gonna work.
you can't help it, right? That's just what naturally happens. Like, it's because I feel like there's a certain capacity. I have a certain capacity for human interaction, like, because I'm gonna be not gonna be able to go over it either way. So you can explain it and justify it in any ways, but it seems like it's a natural thing. It's like it's already a configuration that is there. Like, I wouldn't be able to, even if I had like
Yeah.
lived next to my friends, which I did actually. I lived next to my, you know, had neighbors for friends who lived right in front of me. Never hang out with them that often, just because I don't really want to. Like, I have
Yeah.
a lot of
It's
stuff
just
going on my own that I want to do, right?
it's different things, different vibe, different because the thing is, even with human interaction, there's a set of standards. There's a set of
Yeah,
standard for almost anything,
yeah, and
right?
different people
Because
have different standards for sure. I noticed that.
yeah, it's only the one that you can find that common standard. Will you be able to tolerate that person for in close proximity, right? And for longer periods of time. There's a lot of give or take in that. So that's the thing, right? Most people, it's very hard to find that standard, right? To be matching on that and just be able to like, okay, I see, and
Like, even with
it's
you and I think we have matching standards because if we were to hang out every day, that would be too much.
too
I'd
much.
feel it,
Yeah,
and I think
you
you'd
will feel
feel
like,
it,
oh,
right?
phew,
You
are
need
we
more
doing
space
this?
to yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, which is, I think, yeah, even back when we were in the same city, it was like we hang
Every
out like
couple
every
weeks.
2 weeks, right? At
Yeah.
least every
Yeah.
not every week, like every 2 weeks. I think the
Yeah.
frequency. Or
That's enough.
longer, right? But yeah, 2 or 3 weeks, that's good. Because if you
And
do
that's a
more, it's like,
good thing, but because we both wanted that frequency and then it works out perfectly.
yeah, because yeah, exactly. The times, I know, like that's why, yeah, personal privacy is very important for, you don't want to just having two people. This is why, like, I definitely don't have anything against people. Let's say, for example, when a couple sleep in different bedrooms, like that should be the
Yeah,
way it
that
is.
is healthy. Yeah.
Why would you sleep on the same bed? Like, you have different sleep patterns. I couldn't because I move a lot when I
Yeah,
sleep.
you're
So
going to be
imagine
waking
if
up all the
somebody's,
time. Who needs
yeah,
that?
there's nothing wrong with sleeping on different beds because you just have different habit, different, nothing wrong with that. But yeah, you need space. You need, so
And I can't imagine like living with a more extroverted person who drags you to parties like every single day and stuff. What? What? That would be so unnatural, dude. That would just not
yeah,
be sustainable. That would literally look like, hey, let's go to this party I'm going to. I've been invited by this, this, and this. And I'm like, no, I don't want to. But then that would be like 99% of the time
yeah,
because I don't want to.
yeah.
I'll
Which
feel
is,
like it once in a while, but to most people, it's so weird, dude. It's so weird because everybody's used to like whenever there is a free weekend or everybody's doing stuff all the time. Like you
yeah,
invited to this and this, let's go this and this. I don't want to do that much stuff with other people. It's just not. I don't want to. But to so many people, it is weird to the point where like if you're not doing that, you can't have a relationship essentially. You can't be friends because not enough contact is happening, I guess.
yeah.
And in
Because
some way,
also,
I guess maybe that's the reality. That's how it works. But I can't do it. I can't be doing hangouts every weekend with people because I want to do other stuff.
that's the thing, right? You got to deal with what you got, right? If this is the base level baseline, then yeah,
But that's the funny thing. That's what I'm down to these days because essentially it's weird for me to do it on my frequency because whenever I do it, nobody knows me well enough to like even connect further. It's paradoxical, dude. Because I used to do it. I used to go on this random trip. I used to go on this little canoeing thing. I'd join once in a while, but it's not often enough. So I'd be among strangers
yeah,
where nobody knows me. and I have nothing to talk about with them. So I'm like, wow, I guess I can't even do that then.
It is.
Because my frequency doesn't match their frequency.
So I don't know,
It's a
man. Life is
paradox, dude.
strange, man.
It's
Life is
strange.
strange.
Yeah, what the hell, dude?
So, see, that's the thing, right? You got this given sort of proclivity or
That's the configuration you're given.
right.
I didn't choose this.
I didn't have a. I mean, yeah, like this is how you act, and this is
I
how
want
you
to
know.
have friends. I want to be friendly to people.
Yeah,
But
but
my
then it
desire
doesn't
has nothing
happen.
to do with it.
Yeah,
I want
it's the
to
same.
have friends.
It's the same with relationship.
Yeah.
There was nobody that was attracted to me. Like nobody wanted to be talking to me in that sense. So like, okay, well, I guess that's what it is, you know.
There's
But that's the
something
thing, right?
funny about this, dude.
It's like certain individuals would just attract people, right? They have a
Yeah.
certain kind of
Oh,
charisma or
yeah.
whatever.
Certain people are very charismatic, outgoing.
For some, they're like nobody want to deal with you. And I think I fall into that camp. It's like, yep. I'm like, I'm
That's
just
just
like,
what's happening.
that's just how it is. So I like typical me. And it's like,
That's
okay,
fine.
that's fine, whatever. That's the way it is. So maybe that's the problem. I don't even try, right? It's like, oh, whatever.
Dude, you're just the most naturally enlightened person I know. It just,
Which is, I don't know, and it's
just
I
going
guess
with the flow.
that's just too much flow. You know, that's
Full
too
flow.
much. Yeah, full flow and no.
That's
Yeah,
perfect, though. Isn't that what you'd want?
but the problem is I'm not that learned. I never read any, like
That's the secret. That's how you do it. You don't learn all this bullshit that makes you think,
you
oh,
do
there's a
the Tao
problem.
without knowing the Tao,
Yeah,
right?
that's the best way to do it. That's the natural, full flow
Is that a
natural.
curse? Is that a curse or what? I
I
mean,
don't think so. I think it's a boon.
yeah. Well, for what purpose?
Just enjoy. Just enjoy.
Yeah.
Don't think
It is
about it too
strange
much.
because I'm not stressed out about any of this,
Right.
right?
that's
I'm like,
that's how you know you're winning.
shouldn't I be stressed out about this? Nobody want to be a girlfriend to me.
Yeah.
Nobody want to be friends with me.
Yeah.
Nobody wants like all this. Like I got nothing. Like okay, well
No,
whatever.
no problem.
Shouldn't that be a problem for a lot of people? It would be a problem. They're trying to solve this, right? I'm like, nah, I'm good, bro.
You didn't get the memo that it should be a problem. You just like,
Yeah, like even if I get the
doesn't seem to
memo,
be a
it's like,
problem.
what are you gonna
Yeah.
do?
Yeah, what are you gonna do? What do you want me to do about it?
So, which I guess paradoxically, yeah, because you're not doing anything about it, then yeah, it's not happening, right?
But like this is, I mean, we do circle about some of these points every now and again, but it's just funny that we come back to it. But then I remember on one of the podcasts, I think we ended up phrasing it in the way that like, yeah, you realize you're just that guy, and your fate is to be the guy. You're this type of guy. Because what are you gonna do? Like it's almost like you want to want to change, and then you have to have a capacity to change. But even then, what do you choose to change towards to? How do you even know what is better for you? That's still the
Yeah,
part that, because we've seen time and time again through all these Taoist parables, we see that like what you get and what you never get anywhere that you can objectively say it's better. And this is exactly what you wanted. So all effort ends up being kind of like misguided. All effort is aimed at not living in the now. It's always like, this is gonna be better. So I'm gonna strive and
yeah,
make my best to do this and be that. And then you never get there. You never get to the point where like, yep, I'm done. This is it. Full peace, nirvana forever. But I think that's the secret. The secret is that you don't chase anything. It sounds paradoxical, but I literally read about it in all kinds of traditions where that was the secret, Of course, there's so many interpretations, but I've heard of those interpretations as well. And I do like it. I think there's something to it. It's very paradoxical, but I think that's how you win.
I mean, you just live your life. You just live
Yeah.
the experience of it.
Yeah.
You don't expect anything from it
Yeah.
because the expectation creates the difference, and that difference can be the one that create all the anxieties and all the because now you have something you're expecting of the result. And when you don't get it, you just
Exactly.
feel the negativity from that because, oh, I want that. And then it didn't happen, right? So, yeah, I mean, that's the whole gist of it, right? The idea that you try to kind of live moment by moment and just appreciate the fact, yeah, this is things that are happening, and you're trying to kind of savor the flavor of life, so to speak,
Yeah,
every moment, whether
yeah,
that's bitter or it's sour or it's
exactly.
sweet or whatever, right? It's like, interesting,
Just
right?
live it fully. Yeah, live that anything fully.
Yeah. So not to get worked up into this sort of like, how typically where you just in your daily life, you just start in this kind of problem solving mode, which is necessary. A lot of times you do have to just figure out what to do. This bill you got to pay, that you got to deal with. Yeah. But oftentimes you got to sit back and be like, okay, why am I doing all this? Am I enjoying this process? Even if it's painful, you should be like, I should be enjoying this process,
Yeah.
Like I should be
You know
fully
what's a
kind of
really good way?
experiencing it.
Yeah, like a really good way to think about it is that whatever experiencing, whatever you're experiencing, whatever you're going through, is that you get to do it and you get to experience it. It's like, it's like an honor because it is kind of like a gift. Like all of it is a gift in that sense because your existence and everything in it, because you didn't really like make it happen yourself. So none of it could have happened. You could have not existed. And then,
Yeah.
so just the fact that anything is happening, really, the good, the bad, and the ugly, I think that's a miracle. And just seeing it from that perspective, like that you get to experience any of it, I think that's where what brings you back kind of to peace and appreciation of now and the present and the enjoyment of it all.
Yeah, I think it's also just, there's the saying, I guess. It's you want more of the freedom to, not the freedom from.
Hmm.
You want the more agency, right? The freedom to do something, not the freedom to just, from something, like escaping something. You can't escape any of this stuff. Like, this happened to you and this is the way it will be. And so you just have to kind of gather yourself and be like, okay, well, let's see. Given the fact this is a scenario, and okay, well, what am I gonna do with this? Right? What am I gonna build? What am I gonna create that kind of is internally um internally driven? Don't think too much about the outside world in that sense. Like it's yeah, things happen, right? Okay, things are happening. You deal with what you have to deal with, and that's a skill to survive, right? Which you do deal with these external factors, and that is society, the weather, the world, the nature, all this stuff, right? That's the skill you gotta learn as a person, right? Is is if you don't have that, then I don't know. As far as nature is concerned, you don't deserve to live if you can't live, right? That's just a simple matter, right? So you do want to train yourself to be skillful at certain all these things, so you can navigate all this. But internally, that's the bigger battle, right? It's just as in the religious context that supposedly the word jihad is internal struggle,
Hmm.
right? It's against yourself. It's not the greater jihad is in here, right? To
Right.
fight against your own self. So the idea that you have to kind of that's the biggest battle, right? So it's you got to figure it out. Okay, internally, what does it make sense? What make more sense to me, right? So survival is a skill you gotta get to go along with the world, to live in the world. But there's the difference between just living and thriving, right? That's like another level where you are not passive, you're not defensive, you're actually living the life, right? You're, so to speak, proverbially living the life. You're actually going out there actively doing something, right? So actively trying to like this makes sense to me because I'm trying to create certain thing that satisfy my own internal drive, right? That could be anything. It could be building a business, whatever, to help other people or whatever it is, right? But it has to be internally consistent. Be like, okay, this is the purpose. I'm doing this. It makes sense to me, right? Not because some shareholder needs more money and I'm just doing
Yeah.
that for him, right? It's
Yeah,
you
not
know?
someone
So
else's reason.
that's kind of how I see it. Yeah, it gotta make sense for you, right? Everything else is just noise, right? I mean, again, the discernment is important because you don't want to just be a selfish asshole and just be like, oh, I just want everything to be catered to me. I don't care about other people. No, you live in a world. You do have to kind of play by the standard that is set up because that's a better society, right? But a lot of the times, obviously, in reality, people break the rule all the time, right? I mean, world isn't fair, but that's how it is. But for you, right? You want to be doing the things that kind of like given the okay, this is a situation, but you just do the best you can. Try to kind of create that your own kind of your own world, basically, right?
Yes.
You live in the world, but you want to create a world that in which you are also living in your own in a way. Like you are, like the best people is like, I don't know, they can interact with the world without breaking down. And yet
Yeah.
they are self-consistent as well. They can carry themselves, be like, yeah, the world is not gonna break me. But more importantly, I need to be I need to make sense to myself, you know? I should not break myself in the way of not quantifying everything of existence, right? Because that's how you have a mental illness. If you can't quantify all this thing in your head, that just means you have something wrong with your understanding of the world.
You can't
You're
reconcile
not
something.
missing some link. You're not adjusting accordingly. You're not adjusted. If somebody is ill adjusted to society, that just mean there's something wrong with their. Let's just say that they're not calibrated correctly, right? Because a well-rounded person will be like, no matter how much society throw at me or how things sucks, I'm fine, right? That's the internal consistent. Like you're consistent with yourself. You're not being the outside world doesn't is not gonna break you, right? But oftentimes we see people who are, let's just say that they're ill adjusted, where these factors break them down. I'm not saying life is easy. Life isn't easy. There's so many things you can't even, you don't know what it feels like to be in a certain position that some people get into, right?
Right.
Like, so you can't justify saying, "Oh, you just saying." Of course, I'm just saying in my head, like you never know how it feels like to be in a certain, That's true. But I guess we're just talking about the ideal way to deal with things is kind of like what Marcus Aurelius is saying in his book Meditation, right? It's not what happens to you, it's how you react to what happened
Yeah.
to you,
Yeah. It
right?
still
It's
goes
that kind
back to
of
your,
principle. That's
that's
it.
the main power that you have, really. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Just
all the power you
your
have.
relation to the experience. Yeah.
You're the gatekeeper. You're the one that, again, we talk about discernment. We talk about curating the experience, right? It's like, yeah, okay, what do I let in and what do I let out? So again, they go back to the what you're saying about boundary. You're creating that boundary actively. Be like, okay, this is my sets of boundaries. I cannot let things cross this, right? Then you create the structure to base your life on because otherwise you have to have rules. You can't just be like, oh, I'm
Yes.
gonna bend the thing this way and bend the thing that then there's no shape. This is what happens, say, in the instance of this, of say currently in a lot of these institutions and stuff like that, where because they start bending the rules now, they give special concessions or exceptions, and now there is no rule. So everybody just
Yeah.
playing dirty,
You either maintain the rules and enforce them, and yeah, enforce them really, or there are no rules,
which is
or
what's
you're just
happening.
saying that there are rules. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's more chaotic now, and everybody is just doing whatever, right? Especially, I don't want to get into politics, but yet the
Yeah.
what I see in the states, that's what's happening. Everybody just realized, oh, there's no rules. Okay, I'm just gonna do whatever I like. Since they're doing it, the people in power are doing it, so I'm gonna do it too, right? That's what you create. That's the problem, right? When you don't set the precedent, I mean, when you set the a precedent, then that's what will happen, right? So society should be rule based. There should be a measure of standard that we all agree on. So, okay, well, doesn't matter how you feel about it, but this is how, this is for the best. This is like the better for everybody, right? If we do according to this, then this is better for everybody. Because if you just start giving exceptions, dude, there's no ends to that. And that's what's happening in a lot of the social issues. It's just that people are giving certain section of society leeways and sort of exceptions, and that creates the problem, because then it's like, oh, what about this situation now, right? Because you gave that person special exceptions, but what about me? What about, that's where the problem comes,
Yeah, that's
so.
kind of that's why the whole legal system, especially in the US, seems so comical. Like I don't know too much about it, but like that the concept of precedent, that you can set a precedent and then other people can use that as their legal
Claim.
right and defense and stuff and claim. It's just like this. I don't know how it makes sense. It all makes it seems so arbitrary anyway, right? Where it's just like, well, no, this is the standard we set for this, so let's just keep to it. But there's no rhyme or reason to it. There's no fairness or anything else. It's just the precedent is like something that sets the price point, right? And that's what you push off. But then you can literally quote it like, well, no, this happened, so it means that it's somehow valid on its own just because it happened.
Because, well, see, this is the problem, right? Like, this is why, dude, I keep thinking about this. It's like, yeah, the more I think about it, dude, the more absurd
Don't
everything
think
is.
about it. Yeah.
Don't think about it too much, because if you just start defining everything that happens in life, let's say,
Yeah.
macroeconomics, politics, whatever, it's like none of it makes sense. None of it,
Yeah.
everything is just decided by some people and by some kind of measure of, like, it
Yeah.
has this, there are some internally consistent
I
kind of
think this is how
rule
we
sets.
discover that we're in the Matrix, man. But
Yeah,
just
but
like
it's,
looking at all these things and realizing none of them makes sense.
yeah, that's what I see about things like economy and whatever. It's like, yeah, but you created these problems for yourself. When you set the value a certain way and you play this game in a certain enough duration, this is what happens,
Yeah,
right?
it all
All these
plays
up and
out and it all
down, and
unfolds. But
it, but that's the system you create. It's not like nobody just not you're not being, you're
forced.
self-created. It's self-reinforced and self-created, right? And you just constantly doing this because everybody is kind of delusional in some ways, perpetuating this thing by thinking it in a certain way, and expectations and counterpoints, and
That's all of reality, dude.
yeah.
That's how all the whole reality is like that.
Which is
If you
why
think
I
about it.
truly believe life is absurdist. I am of the absurdist position. Like, everything is absurd. So in that way, take the freedom to just figure it out for yourself how you want to deal with it, however it makes sense, right? But you don't want to be like so obstinate where you're just constantly banging yourself against the wall, because you got to realize when something isn't working out and you got to shift gears, right? I think
Yeah.
that's the important part, because otherwise you're going to drive yourself mad, right? Because I think the world is crazy enough already, and you just kind of have to be like, okay, well, let's see. Maybe I'll do it this way. Let's see how that shakes out, right? Without it get into your head so much. Like, that's why it's like, don't care about, just stop caring about what other people really think. Like, it doesn't matter, right? Just, I mean, I know in practice it's kind of hard, but it's sometimes it is kind of like you just kind of have to not care. Like,
Yeah.
why would
Yeah.
you? It
At a
doesn't matter to
certain
you.
level, you have to remember that like your life is your own, and like
Yeah.
other people's neither opinions nor positions nor desires don't override that. So you should still remember that and evaluate your involvement with anything from that standpoint. Because if you don't do that, you'll just be finding yourself in the situations and positions where you don't want to be. Like when you look at the things like, no, I don't want to be. Because whether it's manipulation or subconscious behavior, that drives these things, because there is such a thing, right? There are subconscious drivers, which is, I still don't really understand what that is and how it works, but it's akin to programs that are running in your subconscious, because I've heard psychologists talk about it in that exact language. It is like a form of programming that's being installed in you somehow at some point. Case in point, like the childhood, right? Like in that kid's idea that like that's unacceptable. It's only you only have to have A's and hundreds and full success, and the person internalized it so much and so seriously that that's their whole mode now. That they work like that. But did they
Yeah.
choose that? Do they want to live life like that? That's a good question. But then that in itself makes me think about, what do you choose for yourself and based on what? as the most fundamental rule that all humans could share, what would that
Yeah.
be? Just that you have to listen to your internal compass and find a way to do that. That's not specific rule book, but like a framework, right? Kind of like a framework to listen to your intuition or something.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely very important because look, that's how you drive your that's your internal drive. It's like something about it, right? Like why are you developing in such a way that this is how you think in a certain way? Because there got to be a source of why that is. But like we know, like there are these kind of social types, like socionics, right? Like the idea of different people have different type. There are different type of people, they all kind of internalize and experience the world in a certain way. So this type of people experience it in this kind of similar way, and then another will experience it in that kind of way, and they do different things. They're different manifestations of that, right? So you can find a person like yourself who is similar, right? That like you read into things in the same way, and this was the first thing that I realized is amazing about things like socionic, and this is like that actually very accurate describe how you will feel. It's like, oh, this is kind of how I process things, but it just means that there are other people that does the same thing. They're the same
Yeah,
type.
it's
They do the
natural like
same.
configuration of psyche or something.
Yes, it's kind of like you do have to kind of start seeing. Okay, well, let's see. I know a lot of people don't believe this stuff because they feel like they can be anything. But the thing is,
But you're
you
not.
are not. You are given you are like a set of attributes, right?
Yeah.
It's like a video game again. Just you are
Yeah.
just this
Yeah, a certain
attribute. You can't
class.
change it. Exactly. You can't change it, man. That's the class you're
Certain
playing.
class, and if you are
So
supposed to invest into strength, but you're investing in intuition, you're gonna gimp yourself.
yeah, if you play the passive tree all the way over there, well, that's not your natural inclination, so you're
Yeah.
gonna have a hard time. So why would you do that?
Unless you purposefully know what you're doing and you're going for something and you're making it work, if you can
Yeah.
make it work,
If
but
it works, it works,
you have to be
right?
aware that what it
Yeah.
is. That requires its own level of intelligence and genius. Otherwise, don't go against your nature and
You're gonna
be
have a hard time.
someone who you
It's
can't
not
be.
fun. Yeah, because we've all done that, right? We all have an idea in our head. Okay, what am I gonna study in college? What am I gonna do in the future? And you keep doing it. It's like I gotta get it. I gotta get. And then you realize,
And then
wait,
it's
this
like
is not for me.
yeah, it's not for you. I tried skateboarding at some point like that. I tried it, like I gave it an honest try, and it was not for me because like my body type is not for it. I'm too heavy set. I'm big boned, heavy set. Like I'm not overweight, but like I am heavy. Like I have a big frame. So naturally I carry a lot of muscle. That's not what you want on a skateboard jumping up
Yeah,
and
you
down
need to
on
be
your
nimble,
knees.
right?
Yeah, you're gonna break yourself before you.
You're too heavy for the
Yeah, you're too
the
heavy.
jumping
You
around
need
and
to be light, nimble, skinny, so you can fly around and just zip around and do whatever you want. It was so difficult. I remember jumping up and down, but I would feel that impact. I would feel my knees, my everything is like, no, this is my mass is not like I felt like my mass is not conducive to this sport. So like I didn't stick with it.
so it's almost like, okay, anything you do in life is like find out how hard it is for you.
Yeah,
Gauge it, right? It's like
yeah.
it is very difficult. Then think about maybe, okay, just maybe. I'm not saying you shouldn't try hard things. You should always try hard things, right? Try to improve yourself. But there are times when you kind of have to figure, okay, is this hard because I'm just naturally not good at it? Or is it like the learning curve, right? So there is that, man. Imagine if you're just so pig-headed, you just start doing this thing, you think it is what you're gonna supposed to be doing, but
But I
then you
think
find
that
out,
that sport analogy is a really good example because for sure certain sports prefer certain body types. That's
yeah,
just a fact, right? Like
that's just
people,
how you get advantage.
you can see it in competitive sport. Like people with certain builds will excel in this field, will not excel at that field. It's that essentially. You want to be aware of that and to play into your strengths and to be there where your natural abilities and capacities are playing into the thing. So you have to find appropriate game for yourself where you can be a good player. based on what you naturally have. I think that's the secret.
Yeah. I mean,
Look for the right game.
things are not, you want to challenge yourself, but sometimes you do have to find that flow because otherwise you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing the way that you go against yourself, right? That's just punishing yourself. You're not actually enjoying the process
Yeah,
nor
and it's
succeeding in
interesting
the.
that life kind of, it's essentially, you could consider that a natural feedback loop that life has, because yeah, if you're constantly getting negative feedback, just by the sheer fact that nobody has to tell you, just by your own experience, you're like, okay, this is like not good. I don't
You
like it.
know,
Doesn't feel good. I'm getting traumatized,
yeah,
etc.
yeah. You know, that's the example is me trying to ski. Bro, I fell down the entire mountain, remember? The entire fucking mountain, okay? I'm just like falling down all the way from the top down to the bottom. Like, okay, not all at once, but I'm like, at every stage, I'm the
All at
guy.
once would be even
Yeah.
funnier. That would
And
be,
it's funny too, because everybody's just doing their normal thing, having fun. I'm like going backward on the mountain. Okay? I'm faced up
yeah,
and doing it like this,
yeah,
not facing down. Right? I'm like, because that's the only way I can stand up, maintain it for a bit. Because if I just go, maybe it's just maybe my perception. If I see I'm going downhill,
right.
I just naturally get afraid or something.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
just
yeah,
fall down because you just don't want to be standing up when you go that fast, or something like that. I just couldn't fucking stand up.
yeah, yeah.
So that's the only way. If I don't see it, then I
It's
can
this,
do it. It's
yeah, because I
funny.
think the center of the sense of balance is connected to vision. I do think, yeah, that might be the
Yeah.
case. So that,
So
yeah, that whole thing was hilarious, dude.
it was the
I
disaster.
still feel bad for the fact that like I didn't realize that because I didn't think of it for some reason, because
Because
I
it was
judged
not
it
a problem.
I judged it for myself, because but even for me it was extremely difficult to learn it. It's just I learned it in a couple of days and I thought, well, this like that means that you can learn in a couple of days. But that's not how you do it. That's not, first of all, not how you start learning it. You don't come up to the freaking one of the tallest mountains in in
Just
Canada
and just
and go.
and just go. That was the plan. That was the
That was
plan.
the
It's like
plan.
how hard could it be?
We rented the gear. Like, all
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
let's go.
All right, let's go, man.
Freaking hundreds of dollars.
Yeah, it
Traveled
was a
there.
fucking
Never,
hilarious.
never even tried standing on the skis, dude. You never even tried
Yeah.
standing on the skis before.
No, because I can't.
Because, but the idea was like, yeah, you just stand and you go, right? Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
That's what you'd expect. But then you come there and like it's not happening. It's not even
yeah,
close to happening.
yeah,
And I'm like, whoa, okay.
yeah. It was like
What do you do?
get onto the mountain. What the on the what do you call it? The carousel, not
Yeah,
carousel.
the escalator thing.
The escalator. It's like, nice weather. All right, let's do this. Get on the ski. It's like, wait, hold on.
Yeah, how do you
Wait,
do it?
how do you do this?
Yeah.
It's like, wait, why can't I stand up?
Why doesn't it stand? Yeah.
Yeah, okay, why can't I stand up? Why am
Yeah.
I always falling down? Like, what's the going on here?
Yeah.
And
What's
then it just never happened.
but it is like
And then you realize,
it's it
fuck.
can't happen. Yeah, it's
It's
just
like
like it.
either I go down the escalator down.
Dude, I told you to just go down. Why did you choose to go down
I
the
was
mountain?
stubborn. I was fucking stubborn. It's like, this is shameful. This is no, I'm not
Okay.
doing that.
Okay,
I'm
okay.
gonna go down the
You thought
mountain no
you
matter what.
thought you'd learn
Yeah,
along
I
the
thought I
way.
would learn, right? But halfway, maybe not half, immediately, and then I realized, no, this is not happening. But then, look, it wasn't pride, okay? I wasn't like, I don't think it was pride.
You just wanted to
But
see if you could figure it out.
yeah, that, and then it turns into despair. And then it turns into just like,
Dude, I can imagine you would go through all stages of grief, because like I went through something similar when I was skiing, right? Because I also like I tried this way, like I tried this way, like how do you actually do it? But yeah, and I think I tried to explain it to you that way, like how I learned, like okay, just try and do it. But the problem is that you couldn't even stand on it.
it's
So
the
like
physical, it's not just, it's not the knowledge part, right? It's like
yeah,
you understand how it's supposed to be done, but like your body
but
don't,
yeah, if you can't even you can't even start.
yeah.
Because like my problem, like I at least learned how to move, but you couldn't even start to stand.
Because every
So
time I stand up, it just
you would
feels like,
just
well,
go
I'm gonna
down.
fall.
Yeah, you'd go
And you
down.
just fall. So it was funny. And then I think that's something weird too. Because I think maybe I had this kind of thing, like whenever things go wrong, I can get into this kind of pigheadedness. It's like, no, I, don't accept this. That's why I fall down the whole mountain, because like I refuse to just
Dude, that was crazy. There was a
yeah.
crazy
And
shit.
other people, they probably like see me as like, this is fucking funny. Like the guy is skiing backward and then fall, ski backwards and then fall, and then just like trying to, and I try to get it out of the way. I go to the
Right.
side because I don't want to impede other people.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then, it's just, but it's like, wow.
Yeah, I'm sure people think, well, I guess that's how some people try to learn that way. But essentially, yeah, you're not supposed to learn it that way. You're supposed to do that. First of all, it's somewhere at lower stakes
Yeah.
first,
You can't be doing that like cold
and
turkey and
yeah,
just,
not cold turkey. Then, of course, actual teacher maybe to teach you, like because at least they are for sure they'd be able to do it that way. But essentially, you should have tried doing any kind of skiing at least,
yeah, before you try
because you'd
to,
find out that you can't even stand because you don't
yeah.
even like want to do it that
Or
way.
it takes some time for you to
Yeah,
adjust, and
yeah,
that take a longer time. But that just means you don't have a, I mean, if it took you a few days, probably took me a month or something, right? Some
yeah.
people
So
would
if you
be
did
like that, right?
apply
Yeah.
concerted effort, you'd learn it. Yeah,
It's some people learn something fast, some people learn it slow. It's
but
just kind of,
that's
you got to find your speed, right?
yeah, and that's an example of like different types of intelligences. So there's bodily intelligence, like the proprioception and understanding where your body is in space. It's definitely a certain function of the brain. So if it's more developed, you're better at it. You're better at physical sports and stuff like that, coordination. But if it's not, like that's what it looks like. You're just not. You don't have that developed well, and you're gonna be able to engage in that well. But yeah, that was crazy, dude. I still feel so bad that's that's what it had to be
No, but
that brought you to that freaking mountain.
yeah, but the part of it, I was actually having fun. I was laughing at myself. I was like, this is fucking hilarious. It's like, oh, there he goes. He falls down again. I try again. Okay, well, here we go again. And it's just,
Yeah,
it's almost like I'm stubborn in that sense. But then I was like, I was laughing at myself. I was like, yep, this is fucking hilarious. It is to me, you know? But yeah, that's the kind of spirit that at least I feel like that's the right way to go about it. It's like, yep, just laugh at yourself, man. Like nothing is so serious, just
yeah,
kind of try things and figure it out. And hey, if it's not for you, then it's not for you. Because I just don't feel the affinity for it, right? Maybe again, that's to go back to the lazy guy mentality. I'm like, nah, too much movement or something.
yeah,
It's
yeah. That as well. It's like, I
it's
mean,
just, yeah.
but it's like with anything. If you have any skill to do anything well, you get into that state of flow, right? And that's the benefit. So with skiing, it's kind of like that. So when I learned it, then I was able to, like, okay, I see what it is, like, and you are able to see the levels of difficulty there is because you can go on a harder mountain, not so hard mountain. You get into this level of challenge, which is just optimal, where you feel like, oh, you're perfectly engaged and you're just kind of like at the edge of not at the edge of your abilities, but like right in the zone where it's difficult enough but not so that you go crazy. Because in certain mountains, you can just cruise. Like once you get
Hmm.
that sense of balance, you just cruise. It's almost like automatic. You just slide down, but it's so pleasurable because like it's just high speed and it's nice smooth gliding and it's technically or coordinating and controlling a lot of stuff at the same time that it's really fun. It's just I wish it wasn't so expensive, but
Yeah, but that's how
yeah,
it
that's
goes.
that's
So everybody
that's
wants to do it. So that's the economy goes into that. But yeah,
it's kind of an
just
expensive hobby.
it's find your fun, right?
Yeah,
Find what's kind of works for you and kind of. I mean, I'm not saying like you have to justify everything to be in its place, but sometimes
that's what
it's
this level of analysis and overthinking looks on our
it is
podcast.
overthinking. It
Uh,
is overthinking.
and as always, I don't even know how I arrived at this, but that's our time because
Yeah, it's
we can't get out of the tangents, and we arrived at a few good ones today. It took a few turns, but it's been kind of like a semi-therapeutic episode as well. Again, because we started from I don't know where, and then we ended up here.
I mean, that's the nature of
That's how we.
well, it's a chaotic conversation. Let's
Yeah,
just
yeah,
say that.
yeah. But that's how we do it sometimes because That's just the natural, that's what comes up. That's what percolates to the forefront of conversation and discussions and consciousness. And we got to talk about it. We have to. Otherwise, bad things happen.
Exactly. I mean, you got to make sense of it, right? Because that's a constant reminder that you have to make it make sense, right? However you can, because I mean, and in some ways, it's almost like you kind of have to be foolish enough to just be able to laugh at it too. Because I keep thinking back about that Matrix analogy. It's like, yeah. So imagine if Agent Smith was so dead set on figuring it out. He's so serious about it, you know? So when he hears something like because I chose to, it's like he can't, right? He's like,
Mm,
but you're too serious, you know?
mm.
Life is not like that. Right? Sometimes it do be like that. It's just I chose to. Yeah. Like what else do you want from me?
Yeah.
Right? It's
Yeah. Why is that a problem?
so he did all of that. He basically changed the world and just to try to figure it out. And then he's like at the end, it's like, I guess it still doesn't make fucking sense.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the danger. Yeah. So keep making sense. Don't freak out too much about it and make sure you enjoy the process. That's
Deep
our
fries, deep
takeaways for today. Yeah. We'll see
fry
what
it up.
else comes up in the analysis that we might continue in next one. But yeah, until then, stay crispy.
Yeah.